What is up, everyone, and welcome back to some more Higurashi. In the previous recording session, we kicked off Chapter 6, which appears to be a more Reina-focused chapter, which I'm definitely very excited for. Even just with the couple hours that we've seen thus far, I'm really enjoying it. I think this has probably been like the first chapter where I'm like equally excited for the exposition as I am for like the action, right? Because with a lot of the chapters thus far, it seems like it's like the first half is more like exposition and giving you information and whatnot. The back half is a lot more action and things happening, and that's where a lot of the intrigue and mystery happen. But this is like the first time where I'm very excited to see what they give us, because already with like the backstory they've given us on Reina thus far, I'm very interested in with it. I'm very interested with the potential connections it has to the story as a whole. Very excited overall. Because last time we learned that Reina's parents are divorced. She's completely cut ties with her mother, has had zero contact since she moved back to Inamizawa. We know that the father has a girlfriend, quote unquote. We don't really know the extent of the relationship, because we also learned that this girlfriend works at a gentleman's club. So it seems more likely she's a some kind of escort or someone he hires, which could definitely lead to some interesting implications later on down the road. Like I mentioned previously, I could definitely see it having connections to the major event that happened at the beginning of Chapter 3. So yeah, very excited to see what more we learn out of this first half of the chapter, and then also what kind of action could be potentially be in the back half of the chapter. So without further ado, let's jump back into it, shall we?
おはようレナ。
今日はケイチ君の方が早かったね。
普段を棚にあげるわけじゃないが、俺が朝の待ち合わせでレナに勝つなんて珍しいこともあるもんだぜ。は
あ、レナ、今朝はちょっとお寝坊した。昨べ寝つかれなくってね。
レナもか。昨日の大騒ぎの余韻がずーっと残っててさ、布団に入っててもなかなか眠くならなくて夜が長く感じたぜ。
Yesterday, I had a lot of fun with my friends and went home still riding that high. I was too full to eat dinner. I kept talking with my parents about the great time I had over the past few days. I was so pumped up that I couldn't go to sleep. Kinda sounds like I'm a little kid. But given that Reina seemed to be the same way, I felt better about it. No, I felt better isn't the right way of phrasing it. I should say, I'm glad to know that we shared the same feeling. Reina went treasure hunting after I left. I'm sure she found many adorable things, went home, and talked with her parents about how great the day was. Oh yeah, also the fact that Keiichi has like no idea what Reina's home life is like. I mean, that's the thing, he doesn't really know like anything about the home lives of his friends. Like, I guess he knows a little bit more about Satoko and Rika because of the fact that they live together, so he kind of like knows that they're orphaned. But like, you could tell he really doesn't know much about like what goes on with Mion and Reina at all. Though I guess Reina's never gone out of her way to correct him, right? Because he mentioned her mom earlier in this chapter, and she's like, "No, I don't look anything like my mother. I don't act anything like my mother." But she never goes out of her way to mention that her mother isn't actually here at all.
あ、みーちゃんだ。おはよ
おお、ミオンが先に待ってるなんて今日は雪が降るかもな。
人が珍しく先に待ってりゃそういうこと言うわけ？
う。それを言ったら私より先に待ってたケイチ君も珍しいよ。雪が降るかもね。
人のこと言えないね。
It's going to be another happy day today. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. I can already tell when you start off by saying some shit like that. No, it isn't. I had fun the day before yesterday. I had fun yesterday. So I'm going to have fun today for sure. I'm happy, and Mion is happy too. Of course, Reina and my other friends are equally happy. I'm I'm not afraid to say it, and I wish these happy days would last forever.
なあミオ、今日は何をして遊ぼうな。
今日の部活何がいいだろうね。レナは提案ある？
そうだね。昨日おとといと体を使うゲームが続いた。
そうだな。レナの言うのも部活は肉体勝負だけが全てじゃねえだろ。
もちろん心技体全ての要素において完璧であってこそ部活メンバーだからね。じゃあ今日は何かテーブルゲームで遊ぶことにしよう。
Everybody was early this morning. We could enjoy our walk to school for once. After a while, we started talking about the upcoming festival. They told me that the festival was called Watanagashi, and that's the biggest event of the year in Hinamizawa.
そうだそうだ。昨日沖宮の家に親類が集まっていろいろと話が出たんだけどさ、ケイちゃんの話題が出たんだよ。
What? That's not good. Obviously, I don't think Keiichi's going to realize that at this point in time, but, no, I don't want the Sonozakis gathering and talking about me. That sounds terrible.
俺？園崎家の重鎮が集まって一体何の相談だよ。
いやさ、昨日のエンジェルモートでのケイちゃんの活躍を見てた店長の吉郎おじさんがさ、
Yeah. Okay, that makes a bit more sense. It's like, wait, hold up.
ケイちゃんのことを相当気に入っちゃったみたいでさ、それでいろいろと話を聞いてみたら、他の親類も意外にケイちゃんのことを知ってる人が多いんだよね。
Well, of course they've heard of him. He's the new blood in Hinamizawa.
南沢の名物男みたいな言われようだったよ。
That's not a good sign.
名物男ってのはまた微妙な称号だな。その称号の9割方はミオンの罰ゲームに関係があるような気がする
That
ぞ。
definitely doesn't help.
それだけじゃない。ノリもいいし元気があって無鉄砲なところも今時の若い子にしては感心とみんなベタ褒めだったよ。
I felt a bit embarrassed to know that people I haven't even met were speaking well of me.
でね、今後の綿流しのお祭りで何かで活躍してくれないかなって話が出てね。
That's new.
ケイちゃん目立つこととか好きでしょ？
おい、本人不在で勝手に話を進めるな。俺は孤独と静寂を愛するロンリーガイだぜ。
Lonely guy. Lonely guy だぜ。
誰がロンリーガイだ。チェリーボーイの間違いでしょ？
Cherry boy? What the fuck does cherry boy mean?
はあ、チェリーってなんだろう。
Yeah, explain for the class,
ケイ
please.
チくん、チェリーボーイ。は
うわー、年頃の娘どもが朝っぱらからはしたないこと言ってんじゃ
You
ねえ。
fuckers, you're gonna make me Google it. You think I'm afraid to Google it? I'm not afraid to Google it. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna find out when I Google it. What the fuck is cherry boy? Oh, it's a virgin. Okay. We really were still feeling the after effects of yesterday. Mion and I made a lot of noise teasing each other on the way to school. Reina watched us and laughed happily. Satoko and Rika-chan were already there when we arrived at school. They were also full of energy. Tamitaka and Nakamura-kun were too. From that, I could tell that they also had a good time yesterday. Everybody's been having a good time, really. Which means the good times aren't gonna last. In Hinamizawa, everybody's happy.
まだ引っ越してきて1年も経ったわけじゃないけ
どうしたの突然？
ど。いやさ、ひなみ沢に引っ越してきて俺幸せになったなって。
どうしたのケイちゃん、急に臭いこと言い出して。
レナにはわかる。ひなみ沢に引っ越してきて全てが幸せになった気持ち。この村にはね、きっと人を幸せにする魔法がかかってるんだと思うから。
レナは幸せか？
うん。レナはひなみ沢に引っ越してきてからが毎日幸せだよ。
そうだな。そいつは俺もだ。
なんかおじさんだけのけ者っぽくない？ブーブー。
The sky was clear and the few thin clouds were pure white. Cry of the Cicadas was telling me that summer would be coming earlier than usual. Watanagashi is just around the corner. I'm sure we'll have great fun at the festival, too. There'll be more and more fun days to come, I'm sure of it. Summer is just around the corner. Last class of the day was finally over, meaning that it was time for club activities. I was sure it would be fun. I couldn't wait. But then Michan received a call and told us something had come up, and she had to go, so we didn't have a club meeting today. I was really looking forward to it. There was nothing I could do, but I could at least chat with Keiichi-kun on the way home. It'll be fun. Keiichi-kun sometimes says mean things, but he's very funny. When I chat with him, my depression goes away. Wait, what did I just say? Am I depressed? I have so much fun every day, and I'm as happy as I can be. What did I have to be depressed about? Well, it was obvious. Because of Rina-san, my father is happy now. Before he met her, he was like a lamp in broad daylight. Honestly, he was like the living dead. But after he met Rina-san, he started to smile like he used to when he was living with my mother. He enjoyed talking with her and started going out with her. You could probably say they went on dates. Now he looks 20 years younger. Rina-san gets along with my father very well, and she's very kind to me too. There's actually no reason for me to hate her, but bitter memories of my parents' divorce and my many regrets were gradually eating away at my heart. Was it okay to accept that woman? Rina-san might be the same as how Uncle Akihito turned out to be. I mean, in the grand scheme of things so far, I'd say no. Because at least Rina-san's making moves on a single man, whereas Uncle Akihito was knowingly fucking putting the moves on a married woman. So, already I think I'd put one above the other. Is she the enemy who takes my happiness away with her very existence? With or without bad intentions? Am I going to sit around until everything collapses again? Should I fight the enemy before it's too late? Ooh, that's not the best mindset. Rina-san comes to my house a little too obviously. What does that mean? Since my father started letting her stay the night, many of her belongings have turned up in the house. Okay, what does it mean she comes over obviously? She comes to my house too obviously. What does that mean? She makes it obvious she comes to my house? What the fuck does that mean, Kobe Bryant? Okay, whatever. My father and I don't smoke, but there's an ashtray in the living room. The futon in our guest room is hers now. In the bathroom there's a toothbrush, and shampoo I'd never choose to buy. Started to feel awkward about those things. And that's when I started noticing it at the front door when I came home from school. Her perfume. Oh, is that what you mean about coming over obviously? Like you can really tell when she's there? Because you can smell her? Is that what you mean? I asked my father once if he was thinking about getting married to Rina-san. He looked a little embarrassed, perplexed, and confused. He told me, not yet. He knew I was hurt by the divorce. It's probably why he couldn't admit that he wanted to remarry. That's why he said not yet. He'd consider it, but not while I was still living with him. That's what he meant, I guess. I mean, shit, that's kind of fair. There's only one reason why I don't want him to get remarried to Rina-san. I feel offended that my sanctum, my family, is being invaded. I might be being selfish, though. A little bit. I know keeping my father all to myself means keeping him miserable like he was before he met Rina-san. He has a life to live, too. It's his right to heal from the pain from the divorce and to live, to find his new love. He wouldn't have had to go through that painful life if I'd prevented the divorce from happening in the first place. Oh, sweetie. If only I had just stepped in and prevented it. Like, honey, I wish it worked like that. He has a right to a happy new life that lets him forget the pain he never deserved. I don't have any right to stop him. In fact, I have an obligation to try to return his happiness to him. I have to pay for my sin, my inability to prevent his divorce. Then, what should I do to make both of us happy? It wouldn't be that difficult. All I'd need to do would be to give my silent approval of their relationship. My father tells me he won't get remarried while we live together. That means I should stop leaning on my family, be strong, and live on my own as soon as I can. Although that doesn't mean I can tell him not to go out with her until that day. Rina-san comes to our house to see him despite her busy schedule, and she even stays the nights whenever her shifts permit. They're adults. I have no right to say anything against that. That's why I chose to give my silent approval to their relationship, and tried to see her as little as I could. I get along with Rina-san on the surface. I know my father would have a hard time keeping face if we didn't, but it's a very exhausting and painful thing to get along with a person I don't really like. So whenever Rina-san comes over, I spend as much time as possible outside, then head home late. Michan's club activities are the most convenient things to do to kill time. But there are some days we don't have a club meeting. On those days, I while away my time at the garbage dump hunting for treasure alone. And that's how I started to make my secret hideout. My father can do whatever he wants with Rina-san at home. I don't have to see them together. I can spend my time peacefully at my hideout. I sometimes feel depressed about my life. I sometimes want to talk to somebody about it. But nothing will change, even if I talk to somebody. Oh, sweetie, no. This is all I can really do. Most important thing for me should be to overcome the sadness of losing my family as fast as I could, and to regain my own happiness. I have so much fun every day. I'm happy every day. Even on the way home, Keiichi-kun was talking about funny things that made me laugh. My feeling gloomy in spite of that was kind of rude. My father should be happy. I should be happy. I just feel sad because I still can't separate from my father. Compared to the unexpectedness of the divorce, Rina-san's invasion is a very slow process. I think Rina-san understands how I feel. She treats me very kindly, but she doesn't do more than that. I think she understands that I'd feel uncomfortable if she did. I respect Rika-chan because she's strong even without her parents. Compared to the pain of losing both her parents unexpectedly, my problem is like nothing. I respect Satoko-chan's toughness too. She also lost her parents and was forced to live a painful life under her uncle and aunt. Compared to the cruel treatment she had to go through, my relationship with Rina-san is a blessed one. I keep feeling anxious, but that's just because I'm still immature, and because I feel like I'm not ready to separate from my father. I have to be strong like Rika-chan and Satoko-chan. I have to try my best to be happy. I'm going to live with all my might, in order to regain the peace of mind that I lost that day. My assumption that I'm not happy is just a mistake. I should appreciate the wonderful days I spend with my wonderful friends. Just by realizing that I'm happy, the world shines so brightly.
それでね、あんまりにも可愛いから、レナ、ハウ、お持ち帰りって。
やれやれ。レナは毎日を楽しく過ごすことに関しては達人だな。
レナは毎日が楽しいよ。こんなにも素敵な友人たちに囲まれて過ごす、こんなにも素晴らしい日々があって、どうして不幸が感じられる？
だな。不幸なんかここにはないよ。いつまでも楽しくて不幸なこと、それがひなみ沢ってとこなんだからよ。
Really making it sound like a cult. He should have stopped right there, but he just kept going.
レナが羨ましいよな。
Yep. He's like, yeah, your life must be so perfect. You got everything figured out.
その悩み知らずな能天気さが羨ましいぜ。
はあ、バカにされてるっぽい気がする。でも毎日が楽しいならかな。
I don't have any worries. I feel like I do, but that's just because I'm immature and still want my father's attention. Come on. Say the magical words. It'll cheer you up.
ん？
It didn't make sense to say it now, but I was going to say it anyway, because this is my magical phrase that always cheers me up.
ハウ、お持ち帰り。
なんだよ突然。でもそれでこそレナだぜ。
That's right. This is me, Reina. I'm not Reina. Reina still wants her parents' attention. Reina is a goofy and carefree girl. She knows that every day is full of happiness, and she has the kind heart to appreciate it too. I should forget about icky things. I should live a wonderful life free of anything icky. Icky starts with I. And that's why I got rid of the I in Reina. I'm Reina. I'm going to recapture the happiness I lost when I left Hinamizawa. I will overcome any pain and hardship. I can be happy because I got rid of icky things. I'm sure there are only incredible things waiting for me. Oh, incredible starts with I too. Shit, I didn't think this through. I was almost home, and when my house appeared, I noticed something different there. There was a truck parked in front of my house. Oh? There's nothing on the back of it, but I can tell it brought something here, because I saw some cardboard boxes, blankets, and ropes on the ground. Ropes? From the front of the house, I heard voices of two young men saying, "Well, we'll be going now." They passed by me as I walked towards the front door. They were wearing some kind of work uniforms. They looked like delivery people. My father was about to close the door when he noticed
ただい
me.
ま。何かあったの？
おかえり。で、見てごらん。すごいぞ。
My father looked to be in a good mood. I didn't know why he was, but whenever he smiled like that, I just wanted to smile back at him. His eyes used to look like those of a dead fish, no matter how hard I tried to smile at him. These days, he could put on a big smile just to surprise me. He's been literally coming back to life since a year ago when we moved back to Inamizawa. No, since he started dating Rina-san. When I see him smile like this, I'm happy. But at the same time, I feel confused because I don't know whether I should thank Rina-san or not.
ほら、すごいだろ。
He took me to the living room. He was probably expecting me to go all ooh and ah. So, whether there was something in the living room or not, I was ready to go ooh and ah for him.
はあ。何これ？どうしたのお父さん？
I tried to sound excited and surprised. He was standing behind me, probably smiling with satisfaction at hearing my excited voice. I, on the other hand, was desperately trying to understand what was going on. For a moment, I thought I was in someone else's house. You see, the living room had been completely redecorated. The furniture we had was all basically from the former house in Ibaraki. My parents bought most of the furniture when they got married, so it was all old and a little dirty. Some of them still had crayon scribbles I drew when I was very little. All of that was gone. Ooh. Ooh, yeah, she ain't gonna like that. Everything in the living room had turned to pastel color, looking very sophisticated like the rooms you'd see in soap operas. The new carpet looked very tropical. The new curtains matched with the carpet. The new sofa looked very expensive. The living room, in general, looked like a resort hotel. The channel switcher of our old TV was broken. We used to have to use pliers to change channels, but it was gone, too, replaced by a new one with a big screen. The room's lights had also been replaced by nicer looking ones. The living room looked like a totally different world under the new fluorescent lights. I mean, honestly, the fact they managed to get all that fucking switched out in just one afternoon, kind of impressive.
すごいね。これはどうしたの？
心機一転さ。もう引っ越してきて1年にもなるんだから、お父さんもそろそろ気分を切り替えて、新しい生活に踏み出さないとなって思ったんだよ。
I suggested redecorating the house once in order to cheer him up, because he was still in pain after the divorce. But he wasn't interested at the time. He wanted to get rid of the old furniture he had chosen with Mother, because he still couldn't get over her even though she cruelly broke up with him. I wanted to suggest it again when the time was right. Never thought he'd do it on his own initiative.
そうだね。こんな綺麗なお部屋だと心も晴れ晴れするもんね。素敵なお部屋だと思うよ。
いいだろう。ほら、レーナ。お前、ユリースに憧れてたろ。まだ組み立ててないけど、ちゃんとあるんだぞ。
はあ、お父さんすごいすごいすごい。これ私がもら
こらこら、それはみんな。
共用でもレナが占領しちゃうからダメ。
My father explained the details of his redecoration proudly. He told me that he only did the living room this time, but he's going to redecorate all of the rooms. He's sure I'd become more active. There are some parts about the redecoration I didn't like, but I still thought it was great because it made him happy. I found the old furniture outside in the yard.
あれは捨てちゃうの？
まあこの際だと後で業者が引き取りに来てくれることになってる。
Getting rid of the old furniture means putting an end to my mother. I hated the furniture because it smelled like my mother, and I tried to break everything once. I understand when my father wants to take this opportunity to get rid of them. But, for some reason, this new living room makes me feel like I no longer belonged here. My father didn't choose the new furniture. Rina-san probably did. Yeah, see, that's the thing. I was waiting for him to, like, say that Rena had some input in like the redecoration of the living room, which would then make her like totally like do a 180 on it and be like, oh, she picked everything out, huh? Most likely, my father and Rena-san decided to redecorate the living room and went to a furniture store to buy everything. I tried to think positively. The reason why my father didn't tell me about the redecoration was because he wanted to surprise me. No, my father never really considers things that deeply. So I suppose he didn't tell me because he just didn't think he needed to tell me. I'm sure he didn't redecorate the living room to make me feel like I was no longer welcome. Don't be negative, Reina. My father didn't have any bad intentions. He doesn't want to get rid of me. He doesn't think I'm the reason he can't get remarried. And yet, why did I feel sad, looking at the old furniture in the yard? Why did I feel like I didn't belong? I realized the reason, right away. That reason was me. To him, wanting to have a fresh start by getting rid of the things that remind him of my mother might be an indication of his unconscious desire to get rid of her daughter. My father doesn't really consider things deeply, so I might not be thinking that I'm the reason he can't get remarried. But he understands that he can't get remarried while we live together. By staying with him, I'm torturing my father. It was my fault that he had to get a divorce. That's why I have to support him, to help recapture his happiness. I couldn't just keep him all to myself. I'd have to start thinking about living on my own. I don't need to go to university. I should think about getting a job. But who would hire an uneducated girl like me? Even if somebody did hire me, I wouldn't be able to earn enough money to live on my own. Maybe I should think about working at a hostess club, like Rina-san does. People only choose the jobs they can. A girl like me doesn't have a lot of choices. Not a lot of companies would hire me or pay the amount of money that I'd need to live on my own. But, come to think of it, where is the place where I belong? Whenever I end up feeling like this, I miss my secret hideout in the trash piles. I love to get under my blanket and feel the warmth on a cold night. The hideout gets hot and humid during the day and very cold at night. It's not a comfortable place to spend time in. But it might be the place where I can relax the most, more than I can at my house. No, I shouldn't think like this. I shouldn't think that my house has been invaded by Rina-san. I should thank her for making my father happy. Rina-san isn't trying to kick me out of the house. She's trying to get along with me. But I'm not opening my heart to her. I'm the bad one. I'm the bad one. And I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Satoshi-kun and his aunt didn't get along at all, and she abused him for a long time. Compared to him, my situation is a lot easier. Satoko-chan and Rika-chan lost their parents, and they live together now. They've been through very hard times. On the other hand, I still live with my father. I should feel blessed. I shouldn't think I'm unhappy just because of these things. I am happy. I am blessed. The trouble with me is that I still can't admit that I'm happy. My father kept talking proudly about the redecoration. I nodded at him with a big smile and let him keep at it.
そうだ、いけない。レイナ、すまないんだが、ちょっとお使いを頼めないか？
What's the favor?
お使い？
お父さんな、ジャケットを2着ほど洋服屋さんに取り寄せ、それがな、今日届くらしい。ちょっとお父さんは回収業者さんを手伝わなきゃ。
お店を教え、どんなジャケットを取り、楽しみ。
No matter what they look like, I'm sure Rina-san picked them out for him. Although I don't mind going, I'd rather go to the store than listen to these stories about the redecoration of our living room. I got the receipt, asked him where the store is, changed my clothes, and left the house. Started pedaling my bicycle, and looked at the old furniture in the yard for the last time. They used to be the object of my hatred, but for some reason, they now made me feel sentimental. Is it because I still regret the loss of my mother, even though I hate her? I couldn't let poisonous emotions take over my heart. I understood that in my mind, but I just couldn't get rid of that feeling. The old furniture wasn't the only stuff that was kicked out of the house. There was also a lot of junk that I brought home from the landfill. My father was probably going to throw that away too. He doesn't like the junk I collect. He'll probably let the delivery company take it, all together with the old furniture. Just like an animal that rubs its scent on its home in order to feel secure. I collected all the junk in order to make sure that I could stay here. No, that's not it. I wanted to bring them to my house because they were abandoned by their former owners. They needed a place to live. God damn it. Fucking getting inner look into fucking Reina's thoughts fucking breaks my heart, dude. The store where my father ordered the jackets from is a fancy boutique. It's hard to believe my father would shop at a store like this on his own. I could tell right away that Rina-san took him here. I handed over his receipt to the cashier. A short time later, the store manager came out wearing a perplexed look.
リュウグ様、実は入荷のトラックがおそらくはもうじき到着すると思うのですが。
He said that the driver called a while ago, told him he just got off the highway and would be here in about an hour. I didn't need to know all the details, but he explained them to me anyway. I asked him if I should come back tomorrow. He insisted that I should wait because the truck would be coming shortly, and he urged me to take a seat on their sofa. I didn't really feel comfortable waiting there, so I told him I'd be back soon and left the store. I wonder if there are any fast food restaurants nearby. I have to go all the way back to the station. Looked around and found a coffee house. The glass on the door was black, so I couldn't see inside. But there was a poster saying the price for a cup of tea is lower than normal for women on weekdays. I'd just be going to get a cup of tea to kill some time. Should be okay. But still, I hesitated to go inside before opening the door. Her first impression of the coffee house was the smell of cigarettes. It's normal for coffee houses to be filled with cigarette smoke. It's like a requirement. But Reina still regretted her decision. While she was thinking about leaving, the proprietor spoke to her brusquely and showed her to a table. Reina gave up on the idea of leaving and sat down. The atmosphere in the shop was far from a clean, normal coffee house where you'd go to simply enjoy coffee and cigarettes. It was more like a place where vulgar people would hang around. Reina didn't feel comfortable at all, but what bothered her most was the laughter of a man and a woman sitting together in the very back of the shop. Her table was behind a planter, so depending on how one looked at it, one could say she was in a spot most protected from their laughter. Reina looked as though she wanted to leave as soon as she finished her tea. The bell hanging from the entrance door rang, letting her know a customer just came in. It was a little surprising for her that a coffee shop like this could draw in so many customers. Reina peeked at the newcomers from behind the planter. There were two of them. They looked like vulgar men, the kind of people you didn't want to get involved with the instant you saw them. The proprietor tried to show them to a table, but they ignored him and walked towards the back. They walked up to the couple who had been laughing loudly and greeted them with a bow.
Oh,
And who's the woman Teppei's with?
やっと来よったんか。
They said there's a couple back there, right? Who's the woman he's with? Was I right?
まあ座れや。
The couple stopped laughing and the man told the newcomers to sit down in a threatening tone of voice. As instructed, the two of them took a seat.
で、どういうこったん。
すんまへん。
ごたくはとっととうなるもんさらさんかい。
The two of them looked at each other before they each took an envelope out of their pockets and put it on the table. The man roughly grabbed the two envelopes and tore one of them open. Inside, there were many wrinkled 10,000 yen bills bound into a bundle with a rubber band. He opened the other one to make sure it also had cash in it, then threw it to the woman.
おい、
ちょっと私に命令しないでくれる？
Yeah. Okay. I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. Uh-huh. So then is Rina getting pimped out then? Are those two men the delivery men? Did they fucking rob the man? Did they fucking rob him? Is Yorina not only playing the pops, but also they've gotten some fucking thugs to like rob the joint while they were redecorating?
もともと私の金なんだから。
じゃがましい。黙って数えんなえんねん。
The man yelled at the woman. She licked her thumb, looking annoyed, and started counting the cash expertly. The two newcomers hung their heads while she counted. Lighting a cigarette, the man waited for her to finish counting.
はいよ、全部あるわよ。
The woman said that after flicking through the last bill. The newcomers looked relieved. The man, however, didn't look satisfied as he stared at the bundle of the bills the woman was holding.
いつこ、これいくらあった。
ん？全部って言っ
全部っていくら。
だから。あ、
バカ。石はついとるか聞いとるんねん。
The man and Ritsuko yelled at each other. Even though they were making all that noise, the other customers acted like they didn't hear anything.
おい兄さん、200万ビッタ。どういうこっちゃ。
Two of them were trying to find some excuses to make. It seemed like this behavior had touched the man's nerves as he started looking furious.
おら！黙っとったらわからんがな。
His angry voice echoed through the shop. He hit the table hard and dropped a glass on the floor. The noise thickened the tension in the atmosphere.
すまんで済んだら警察はいらんちゅうねん。ごしとら出るとこ出ても一個に構わんでんの。
それはどうかご勘弁ください。
Two newcomers must have been in an extremely vulnerable position. They bowed so deeply that their foreheads almost touched the table.
それを勘弁したるって今日呼んだんねん。それがどういうけじめのつけ方な。
すんまへん、エロすんまへん。
While you could pity them, the newcomers looked as vulgar as the man threatening them, making it hard to decide whether you should feel sorry for them or not. After a while, Ritsuko opened her mouth as if to offer them help.
てっちゃん
Okay, I did want to see what Rina looks like in the other sprite styles. Oh, wow. Damn. This style makes her look a lot younger. Also, it got rid of her fucking star tattoo. There. Whoa. Whoa. I mean, that kind of fits the vibe a lot more. I'm not gonna lie. That's definitely what I would kind of expect her to more look like. God, it made the tattoo so much larger, though. But see, then this art style gets rid of Teppei's chain. God damn it. Can't do anything right.
すごんじゃかわいそうでしょ。ごめんね。うちの人、銭に絡むとすぐトサカに来ちゃう人で。
Yeah, I knew some shit like this would happen. I knew some shit like this happened. Reina was gonna find out that Rina was involved with some other guy and realized her father wasn't as special as he thought he was, and that he was getting played. But that's the thing, now she doesn't want to raise a stink about it because she doesn't want to seem like the kid who's trying to get in the way of her father's happiness. Uh-huh. But she knows he's getting played.
銭絡むと余計だね。お前にあやつけよったんから本気になっとんよ、おら。
もうバカなこと言っても。
Man pulled Ritsuko roughly into his arms and frantically kissed her lips without caring about the other customers. Her kiss wasn't like the lovely ones normal couples would share. It looked obscene instead. He let her lips go to take a breath, kissed them again, and repeated that for a while. After a while, he finally got bored of kissing and let her go. Okay, so she is definitely the one who ends up dead at the beginning of chapter 3 then. Yeah. Interesting.
うちの人は私のことに困ったもんなのよ。
ああ、そう。こいつと俺はいわばこの女に泥塗り腐るやつは俺血祭りじゃすまんね
いつぞやかの。ほら、あれ、表連れてってからどうしたんだったっけ？
バカが表へ出るとか抜かしょんから野郎空手やるとか抜かしおるからどの程度か思うた。拍子抜けしたからズボン脱がせてそいつでこの表の歩道を磨かせてやった。おお、俺町の役に立っお役所に表彰してもらいたいんわ。
やだ、そんなあんたって時々よ。
They started laughing loudly like they were doing earlier. Their laughter obviously intimidated their
ね
companions.
えあんたたちてっちゃん、今日は普段だったら銭が足りんって騒ぎ出して。
すんまへん、すんまへん。
なあ、利子は忘れたちゅうたかてかっちり期日までに額を揃えたんだきゃそこいらへん評価したってもええんで。
それでね、てっちゃんの利子今日だから5本で済むけどすぐに売買ゲームになっちゃうでしょ。そしたらあんたたちすぐに捨てね。てっちゃん悪い。
しょうがねえな。
The man left the table with a grin and headed for the bathroom. He was far too amenable to that request, as if they'd planned for him to leave the table at that moment. Crazy, right? Ritsuko made sure he was in the bathroom, then took some papers out of her bag and spread them on the table.
あんたたちも若いんだからあんなヤクザに絡まれて一生を不意にしたくないでしょ。だからね、てっちゃんそうすればあんたたちはとりあえずあいつ。
そりゃでも50万なんてこれ以上もう払えないっす。
まあそうよね。200万だって相当精一杯集めたんでしょ。さらに50万も工面できるあてなんて。
They must have done their very best to collect even the money they brought today. So, it must be impossible for them to collect even a dime from anybody now. They hung their heads and told her that.
でね、ほら。
The guys looked at the paper on the table and muttered under their
担
breaths.
保も連帯もいらないんで、ちょいと利率はあれだけど。
How about I fucking float you a loan? Yeah, okay.
これなら即50万積んでくれるわよ。それにさ、この利率でもてっちゃんの利率よりははるかにマシだと思うんだけど。
It'd be easy for anyone to guess what Ritsuko was trying to force them to
これ
do.
にサインしたのを見せれば彼も男気をどうする？あ、万年筆使うなら置いとくわよ。
They read the small print on the documents and were stunned by the outrageous interest rate. Ritsuko didn't force them to do anything. She just looked out the window and smoked her cigarette. After a while, the man returned from the bathroom.
おう、話はついたが。
They looked at him, steeled themselves, and took the pen.
てっちゃんの利子借金で一括返済するって。
おうおう、関心なワーコードだね。男は背負うもんがなくちゃあかんね。
They must have planned this from the very beginning. The man and Ritsuko got what they wanted and grinned at each other. There were many things to fill out in the documents, and it was taking them a long time. The man and Ritsuko, already knowing that, started talking amongst themselves.
いつか、お前のひなみ沢の旦那の調子はどうなんね？
旦那なんてよしてよね。
どうなんよ。だいぶ銭持っとんと聞かされ、どのぐらい絞れそうなんよ。
そうそう、別れた奥さんがだいぶ慰謝料をくれたらしいってのは聞いてたのよ。
Yeah. He's getting played heavy.
でもね、それが本当に
かなりってどん
銀行にあぶく銭なわけだしね。
なんねそれ。で、
私にだいぶだってあんたみたいなドケチとは私も
抜かせボケ。俺以上の男が他に。
も
で、その日、
うあんたを出しに手切れ金がいるって方向。
なんぼふっかけるつもり。
そりゃ
つっかずが遅い。エキストラがいるときは呼んでな。俺も大暴れしちゃるんで。
すみません。
ああ、じゃあそれ持ってローン行こうか。リツコ、会計頼むね。
The man patted them on their shoulders and then walked to the door. Another person was just about to enter and they nearly ran into each other. The man probably wouldn't make a way for the person considering his personality. When he noticed who that person was, he stepped aside. Oh, big man Kasai. He had small-time thug ain't shit when an actual fucking Yakuza walked through the door. He was wearing a black suit with sunglasses on. He wasn't that big, but his stern look was very intimidating. It was clear at a glance that he was a gangster, and a professional one at that. The man who was behaving badly earlier looked a little nervous in front of him. As Ritsuko finished paying the check, she noticed the man in the suit.
総支配人どうも。
The man in the suit said nothing. He just raised his chin as if saying, fuck off. Ritsuko and the others bowed to him and left the shop in a hurry. The proprietor noticed the man in the suit, also greeting him with a bow. Who could he have been? He appeared sedate compared to the other men, but he must be dangerous because he made even them step aside. Everybody in the shop thought the same thing and tried not to look at him. The man in the suit looked around and found the menu on the wall. The proprietor walked up to him hesitantly.
マスター。
はい。何か部長報がございましたでしょうか。
この日替わりデザートのスイートなんとかというのは今日はやっているのか。
And he's out picking something up for Shion.
いえ、本当は今日はやってないんですが。
無理なら無理と言ってくれればいい。出直す。
ほら葛西
Yep.
特別にご用意って言ってくる。ここまで来てみっともない。
The girl seemed to be the only one who couldn't read the heavy atmosphere in the shop, and she came in laughing cheerfully. It was Mion Sanazaki's twin sister, Shion. Shion pushed Kasai into the store while he hesitated. She looked at a girl who was sitting down and stopped in her tracks.
あれやっぱりそうだ。レナさんじゃない。こんにちは。
あ、しーちゃん。
こんなとこで会うなんてびっくりです。あれお一人ひょっとしてお姉かな。いやいや、ひょっとしてケイちゃん。
その連れの人は？
葛西のこと？まあ 私のボディーガードとかを持っといてください。命の危険が迫ったら葛西が守ってくれるんだよね。
それがお望みでしたら命に変えてでも。
葛西、あと20も若かったらやばいかもだね。顔は怖いけど面白いやつです。こちらはね、龍お姉のお友達。
葛西です。よろしく。
さっきすれ違った人たちは知り合いですか？
Kasai nodded, indicating that he was familiar with them.
誰？私は全然。
男は北条哲平、ちょいと礼儀知らずのろくでなしです。
She don't seem to know who he was once she heard the name Hojo. Yeah.
女の人の
間宮里奈、源氏名だと思いました。確か律子って名前だったかと。フラワーロードの店の一つで働いてる従業員で。
葛西さん、リナさんととても仲が良さ。
北条は確か里奈とは深い仲かと。たちの悪い連中ですので。
どうたちが悪いんですか？
Reina pressed him for the answer, and Kasai seemed to back down a little from that pressure.
女の私生活には触れない。
どうたちが悪い？
それはご勘弁。
どうたちが悪いんですか？
Reina kept asking the same question until she got an answer. Shion sensed how desperate Reina was and cut into the conversation.
葛西、意地悪しないで教えたい。興味本位で聞いてるわけじゃなさそうだしさ。ね、レナさん。
There was tension developing between Reina and Kasai. Shion seemed to be the only one who couldn't read the mood. Kasai finally opened his mouth.
あの二人はたちの悪いろくでなしどもです。恐喝と博打で生計を立ててると聞いています。詐欺行為もやるって話。
詐欺って
結婚詐欺ってやつですか？要するに男の人に言い寄っていい感じになったところで相棒の男が乱入して俺の女に何しやがるって金を巻き上げる古典的恐喝です。
散々貢がされた挙句根こそぎ巻き上げようっていうクズどもです。最近でかい相手を引っ掛けたらしいと噂。
ちゃあ、そりゃあどちら様か存じない。でもまあ自業自得。
そんな言い方は。男は時にコロッと。
ほう、何それ。マスター、デザートは私と葛西とあとレナさんでって。あれ？
今お帰りになりましたよ。
Reina was already gone. The door she had just closed looked as if it was the only thing that knew where she went. Oh, damn. Damn. That's tough. Oh, girl. Because here's the thing, I can't relate to this specific scenario, but like, I grew up with like my dad dated a lot of unfavorable women, and like growing up, I spent a lot of time trying to tell him like, hey, these people are like bad people. They're not good. And he's like, you're just upset because like you're just upset because she's not your mom. I'm like, nope, that's not the reason at all. And then it became like, oh, you're just upset because you're just not trusting. All right, you've had bad experiences with the previous women, so you're just assuming this one's bad as well. But nope. And time after time, I was proven right again and again and again. So like, I already know the frustration she's gonna feel, like no matter how she tries to go about it, right? Or she's gonna try to explain what had happened, and hell, she might even confront him directly, right? Like, now that she knows what Rena's act is going to be about, she's gonna come up with money for her. Oh, I need this money to leave my boyfriend. She's like, she can come up and be like, yeah, no, I heard you cook up this plan in the fucking coffee house the other day. I know this is some bullshit. She can confront him directly like that. And the pop still ain't gonna take her side on it. He's like, Rena, I understand you're still upset about the divorce and whatnot. You're still like, I understand like you're not really approving of our relationship. But I think coming up with these lies is a bit much. Like, I'm already getting frustrated on her behalf because I know the kind of fucking bullshit she'll have to deal with, because everyone just assumes that the kid is just stuck in their ways and the kid doesn't want things to get any better, when the kid's probably the only one who can actually see past whatever the fucking parent is blinded by and see who the person really is. Not saying that sometimes the kid isn't, dealing with their own shit, is stuck in the past, doesn't want, and isn't willing to accept any kind of change. That can be true. But also, like I said, I've experienced personally where, like, nope, sometimes the parents just blinded by the fact that they want another person in their life, that they're not willing to actually look at the flaws the person has or accept the actions the person has committed. When I got home, the door was locked. I used my key to get in and I found a note in the living room. Something's come up, so I have to go. Going to eat out tonight is what the note said. It's too late. This wasn't the first time he'd done something like this. Each time he only told me he had to go to Okonomiya for something. But I knew the real reason, because I heard him talking on the phone once. Rina-san must have had some free time between jobs and asked him out to have dinner together. I heaved a sigh, looked at the new living room I hated, and went to my room. I thought back over what I just heard at the coffee house. I tried to rationalize the meaning of her actions there. Maybe she had to pretend to be a bad person because she was being threatened by the man. Like, I'm sure that does kind of play a part in it. Like, most, women who get pimped out don't actually, like, truly love their pimp, right? So, like, in a sense, she does kind of act that way because of, like, the potential threat of that man, sure. But even after the man she called Techan left the table, she continued to threaten the guys and push them into signing the loan contract immediately. If she was threatened to play along with the man, she wouldn't have done that. No. I know what you're trying to go for here, Reina, but no. Because, like, if it was all set up from the beginning, from the start, yeah, she's gonna play her role all the way through the fucking act. If she was pretending to be a bad person, she could have shown a little bit of mercy or sympathy when he left her alone with them. It's like holding water in a bowl you made with your hands. No matter how sturdy you made the bowl, water would leak from your fingers. Mercy and sympathy leak out from you. But nothing, not even a drop of water, leaked from Rina-san. Her hands weren't even moist. They were all dried up. There was no water that could leak through those hands. Rina-san was threatening those guys as much as the man was. Neither was leading the other along. They were doing it together. That was it. Rina-san is a bad person. My brain cells accepted the idea with applause. After all, I always hated Rina-san. I just couldn't accept the feeling because my father liked her. But at that moment, I could finally accept it. She's a bad person, just like my mother. Like, honestly, I'd say she's even worse than your mother, to be perfectly honest. She's an existence that'll ruin everything and destroy my father's happiness just by being with him. I wonder if my father would understand that Rina-san is a bad person if I told him so. Nope. My father likes her so much that he would jump over a cliff if she asked him to. He thinks everything she does or says is great, and he interprets everything about her in a positive way. He protects her and praises her without her asking him to. I'm not a kid anymore. I understand how a woman can tame a man. It's different from love. Love is about trying to build a relationship. Taming is just a way of satisfying the lust to dominate. She's just trying to make him into her slave. Women can deceive men, even my father. They can use dirty methods to ensnare men like they're following a manual. It's the weak point all men are born with. Even with a strong will, they can't resist it. That's why we hate those women who exploit that weak point to deceive men. That's why I couldn't bring myself to like Rina-san. For the sake of argument, let's assume I acknowledged an unreciprocated love like that. But that would only be as long as it was love. If it wasn't love, if it was just a method to threaten and squeeze money out of him, I would never forgive her. I remember their conversation at the coffee house. Rina-san said that my father is a big spender. In fact, I think he spends more money without hesitation than before he met Rina-san. I was happy that he started to regain interest in going out into the world again, but now I don't know whether I should be happy or not. He controls the money of the Ryugu family overall, but since I do the grocery shopping, he often gives me his bank book so that I can withdraw money. Because of that, I know where he keeps his bank book, his personal seal, and other important stuff. They're in one of his drawers, which he usually locks. I know where he hides the key, and I know the combination of the cash box inside the drawer. He might be coming back soon, so I felt a little nervous. But I had to make sure. I opened the cash box, which had some bank books, personal seals, stamps, and unused postcards. I removed everything from the cash box to get at the bank books, and I found something new. On the bottom of the box, There was a bundle of new 10,000 yen bills. Its thickness wasn't something I could ignore. There was also a paper wrapper that looked like it had been bundling the bills. The wrapper had a stamp that said it was a bundle of 1,000,000 yen. He usually kept some cash at home because it was troublesome to go to the bank every time he needed money. But it was usually around 100,000 to 200,000 yen at most. He's never kept such a big amount of money at home before because he knows it's unsafe. The extraordinary amount of 10,000 yen bills was abnormally intimidating. I tried to open the bank book, but my fingers got numb all of a sudden. Part of me was trying to deny the things I heard at the coffee house. It wasn't because I wanted to defend my father, or even Rina-san. It was because I didn't want to believe my father was the husband in Hinamizawa the blackmailers were talking about. I opened the bank book. Last time I saw it was about 2 or 3 months ago. It shows countless withdrawals since that day. Probably wouldn't normally understand what those numbers meant, but I felt in that moment as if the 10 different digits were speaking to me. They were a series of cruel digits. It starts with some understandable expenses that I assume represent dinners or something. But then the amount of money starts to become nice round numbers, like a 5 or a 10. I can tell by looking at the dates he withdrew money that he wanted to have a certain amount of cash on hand when he went out with Rina-san. Among those expenses, a big number appeared all of a sudden. It was too much money to spend on a date. Hundreds of thousands of yen. I looked at the date of the withdrawal and traced it back in my memory. I remembered. Around that time, Rina-san was talking about moving into a new apartment. I know the market rate of rental apartments in Okinawa. You need to put down 2 safety deposits and 2 payments of key money in order to rent an apartment. That amount of withdrawal sounded reasonable now. He paid the whole down payment for a new apartment. After that, big numbers appeared one after another. I could tell they were for congratulatory gifts for a new apartment or something. The numbers got bigger and bigger. It looked like at first he was withdrawing only the amount of money needed, then he started withdrawing big amounts all at once because he knew he was going to use it someday anyway. The change meant only one thing. He lost his sense of the value of money. The balance kept going down. I started feeling anxious about what's going to happen if he continued spending money like that. But then I saw a deposit of big money, of a big amount of money into the account. Where did that money come from? There was only one thing I could think of. I opened the other bank book. It was easy, like a puzzle for kids. It was like playing with an easy jigsaw puzzle that comes with huge pieces that you don't even have to put together to see what the whole picture looks like. My father was using money from his time deposits. In other words, the settlement my mother paid my father when she divorced him. To him, it's cursed money. I'd understand if he wanted to use it to get a new love. That was just an excuse to use the money from his time deposits. Money is money. Even though it's his divorce alimony, it's still important money for our future. Even though it's cursed money to him, that doesn't mean he can waste it. Big expenses started appearing one after another. There are many expenses, upwards of 6 digits. Jesus. For some reason, I could immediately tell they were for buying electric appliances and furniture. He must have been buying everything she asked him to. If, from the beginning, Rina-san was only seeing to check if he could end up being a big catch, she must have been trying to find how much money she could squeeze out of him. And my father bought her anything she wanted, no matter how expensive it was, so she probably thinks of him as the perfect catch now. The numbers in the bank book told me so. The simple numbers and dates on the bank book had started talking to me. Around the time he started withdrawing big amounts of money, Rina-san started coming to the house more often, and she also started spending the night. To Rina-san, my father was at first just a guy who spends big money, but around that time she landed her big catch. My father used to refer to her as my friend in Okinomi at first, but he started referring to her as Rina-san around that time. This is partially his fault, but he was betrayed by his beloved wife, and he was feeling hurt and down for a long time. It's also partially my fault. That's why I didn't want to blame him, and he's not that good looking either. There's no way he's immune to women. He must have not been able to resist an attractive lady who aggressively approached him when he was feeling down. He's crazy about Rina-san, and he can see nothing other than her. I can't blame him, because Rina-san trained him to be that way. I put the bank books and the other things back into the cash box. This cash box is just like my father's heart. Rina-san is eating up the contents. What should I do? Think, Reina Ryugu. Should I tell him about Rina-san's scheme? No, that probably won't do anything. The whole point of taming an animal is that it won't run away from its owner even when the door is wide open. My father probably won't leave his cage even if I open the door. Should I confront Rina-san about her plot when he's with her? The results would be the same. Rina-san would run behind his back. He'd probably try to protect her. If she pressed her breasts against his back, he'd protect her no matter what. I couldn't make this a problem between me and him. First of all, I was trying to get rid of Rina-san for his sake. If we got mad at each other, it would give the advantage to Rina-san. It would be like I was putting myself into her trap. Then, that meant couldn't make him do anything. If I couldn't make him break up with Rina-san, I'd have to talk to Rina-san directly. So instead of making my father fight, I'd have to fight in his place. But how? That guy, Kasai-san, who was with Shi-chan today, seemed to know the man Rina-san was with. Wonder if I can somehow meet him again. Oh, that's a bold move, Reina. He looks scary, but I was introduced to him as a friend of Mi-chan. Oh, you mean meet with Kasai again? Okay. When you said the man she was with, my brain assumed like the man that Rina was with. You mean, okay. Mi-chan has a lot of power around here. There's no way he would treat me badly. I wonder if he could tell Rina-san the man to back off from my father. Ooh, I don't know about that, big dog. That's a tall order. That's a tall order. Especially when you yourself are not a Sonozaki, right? I mean, I could potentially see it. If she manages to get on either Mion or Shion's like good side and like really plead her case to them, at the very least, like Mion would definitely hear out and be like, "Listen, I can say something. I can't guarantee anything." The question is, how far would Kasai be willing to go, though? Because at the end of the day, even if he gets a request from one of the Sonozaki sisters, what's happening there isn't Sonozaki business and doesn't directly affect Sonozaki business, as far as I can tell. Especially considering since we know that that hostess club is also owned by the Sonozakis. That's another thing to consider. That's something we learned in chapter 3. That the hostess club that Rina works at is owned by the Sonozakis. So if anything, it would directly oppose the profits of the Yakuza side of things if that hostess club starts, if one of the hostesses at that club loses a big spender, right? Well, that's the thing though, the money she's getting isn't going back to the hostess club though, so it's not like still. But if something were to happen to Rina, that would affect profits. The money she's getting out of Reina's father might not be going back to the club. However, if Kasai steps in and anything does end up happening to Rina, which we know something does, at least as far as the beginning of chapter 3 goes, then that would directly, affect profits. So getting on the bad side of one of the hostesses, who I believe I forget what her specific position was, right? But she's listed in one of the tips anyway. It lists her as like some kind of manager, so she clearly holds like, she's not just another worker there. She has some kind of higher up position within that club. I just don't see it ending too well. Like, it's definitely an avenue to try. I can't blame girl for wanting to try that avenue. She's good friends with one of the Sonozaki sisters and like on decent terms with the other one. So like she pleads her case to them. Like I said, I'm sure Mion would at least be willing to like set up some kind of meeting and like allow her to plead her case and whatnot. But I don't know, I feel like because Rina herself is a hostess for a Sonozaki owned club, he'd be very hesitant to do so because it would potentially affect profits. Because if nothing else, then Rina could go to whichever Sonozaki owns that club and be like, hey, one of your underlings is threatening me and intimidating me, like what are we gonna do about this? But then again, I don't know exactly where Kasai lands on like the rankings within the Sonozaki family. From what I remember, I believe he's like a longtime friend of the father, of Mion and Chion's father, who's like the head of the family. And, since he's, tasked with essentially being the bodyguard for one of, like, the children of the head of the family, I gotta imagine he's pretty high up. So he might, that's the thing, Kasai himself might even be higher up than whoever owns that hostess club might be, but even still, like, it's a very, very tall order to ask, for sure. That'd help me a lot. But I didn't know how I could meet him again. I could ask Michan for help, but I don't want her to know about my situation. Yeah. But she doesn't want to talk to anyone about it. So what, she's just gonna keep going to Okonomiya hoping she can find Kasai again? This is a problem with the Ryugu family. This is nobody's business but mine. Yeah, this is a battle that I'd have to fight alone. I regretted my parents' divorce. I wept about the tragedy I could have prevented if I had tried. I wasn't going to weep this time. I wasn't going to let the chance slip away. This time, I would fight for my happiness. Okay, let's see what you got, girl. Property estimate. Property estimate? Dear Ritsuko Mamiya-sama, Executive Housing Corporation, attached estimate. We thank you for your past visits and inquiries to our office. We've included the estimate for the property you inquired about. Basic information. Property name, Palace of Versailles, room 707. So Reina's like, yeah, no, he helped put a down payment on her apartment. The place is fucking called the Palace of Versailles. Already with a title like that, you know it's gonna be big money. Property code, that shit. Property type, modern condominium. Bought her a whole ass condo. Not just an apartment, a whole ass condo. Layout, 2LDK, whatever that means. Address, Shishibone City, Kaiwa-cho 2 Chome. Transportation line, Gogara Station, 5 minutes on foot. Cost, 49,800,000 yen. Maintenance fee, 20,000 yen. 50 million. That's like what they said Homeboy had in his entire bank account, right? Reina's dad was like roughly 50 million. So he put down the fucking security deposit in like 2 payments. Other, southeast corner room, elevator floor. Condominium fitness club membership included. Thank you for your interest in this property. The area around Gogara Station is a prime real estate zone for luxury condominiums. Along with future planned developments, the real estate values in and around the Gogara Station are expected to rise, and this property is not an exception. As a result, many prospective buyers are interested in this property. Hence, we'd like for you to understand that the selection process for this property will be done via lottery. Also, we also offer celebrity member preferential treatment, granting highly improved chances through additional lottery entries. Please feel free to inquire with our agents for more details. Executive Housing Corporation. Celebrity Account Manager, Kawabata. So she's trying to get herself this fucking big ass condo in this like developing part of the city. Okay. Interesting. Very interested to see what Reina's play is here then.
ああ、そりゃ多分葛西さんだね。シオンの監視役だよ。
監視役。
シオンのやつ、監視役が必要なわけよ。
ミオンもシオンもその意味においちゃ互角だと思うぞ。
Gachikun cut into the conversation. They ended up making a lot of noise, teasing each other like they always do. Mio made it sound like that man, Kasai-san, some sort of territory boss in Okonomiya. Wouldn't be easy for me to meet him in person, but because he's Shichan's watchdog, I might be able to find a way. Yeah? You just have to Like you run into Shion, you're bound to run into Kasai. Problem though is I don't have any connection to Shi-chan either. Yup. We hang around every once in a while whenever she comes to Inamizawa, but I've never called or visited her. I have no idea how we can meet. Even if I could meet Kasai-san, there's no guarantee that he'd help me. He seems like the kind of person who doesn't like to gossip about others. He told me about Rina-san at the coffee house only because Shi-chan pushed him to. Plus, the situation could grow worse very quickly while I waited for the chance to meet him, so any help he might offer could come too late. I remember Kasai-san told me that, as her next step, Rina-san usually uses her partner to threaten their catch. That would signify the end of her performance. They were going to take all of my father's money. I wasn't feeling a sense of crisis yet, but that time might be coming very soon. Even as I was at school taking a class peacefully, that man might already be at the house right at this moment, threatening my father to hand over his bank books. Once I become anxious, I get more and more anxious. I could feel big pressure on my chest as if the ceiling had collapsed on me.
いやー、平和すぎて退屈だぜ。
Keiichi-kun talks to me, yawning.
そうかな。レナは平和で退屈なの大好きだよ。
俺はごめん。せめて火星人が襲来するくらいのことが、毎週とは言わないまでにも、月末くらいには欲しいところだぜ。
Don't worry, bud. Festival's right around the corner.
あ、定期テストはなしでだぜ。
もし本当に火星人が攻めてきて世界中が滅ぼされてかな。
いや、そこまでは言って何かアクシデントの一つもないと退屈で溶けちまいそうだぜって言いたかっただけだぜ。
He had no idea what I've been going through, of course. That's why he says that. But I was still irritated by his insensitivity. I don't understand why he wouldn't be satisfied with such a peaceful life. He never has to doubt that today and tomorrow will be as fun as yesterday. I was all too aware that boring and peaceful days could be destroyed all of a sudden. I knew that boring and peaceful days could come to an end all of a sudden because your mom wanted to divorce your dad. I knew that you could feel like you didn't belong anywhere in your own house because your dad had gotten a new girlfriend. Even so, you had to repeat the same kind of day over and over again. That's why I want to live every day happily in order to be prepared when the world comes to its end.
レナは日々が幸せそうでいい。そういうのも好き。
そんなの羨ましい。
日々を退屈でなく幸せにあるなら教えてくれよ。
気づくだけだもん。
気づくって？
There's no way he could realize it. It was probably better that he didn't, because that meant he was truly happy.
気づくだけだよ。幸せな日々が有限であることに。
The three of us walked home from school like we always did. Mi-chan said goodbye to us at the corner of the street where she took her separate way home. She walked away waving, but I chased after her. Mi-chan apparently thought she dropped something, and she looked around to see what she dropped.
実はね、昨日その時にね、葛西さんの落とし物を拾ったの。
Of course, he hadn't dropped anything. I was lying. If I could meet him, I'd just show him whatever, tell him I thought it was his, and apologize for my mistake.
へえ、届けとくよ。
Mi-chan looked surprised. I couldn't blame her. I met him only once. Sort of want to give something back in person to someone you barely know.
もう、
サングラスにおちょっぴり可愛かった。
Could I fudge my true intentions with my cute mode? I tried it anyway. Mi-chan usually takes words at their face value, and indeed she seemed to buy it.
口ひげを引っこ抜いてお持ち帰り。
で、その
今度ひなみ沢に来る用事がないか聞いておくよ。
I need to know when as soon as possible. Of course, I wasn't going to say I wanted to meet him today, but at least tomorrow or the day after tomorrow.
なんだよ、お前ら何？
レナがね。
違うよ違
う。なんだそりゃ。俺も混ぜろ混ぜろ。
I didn't want her to leave it up in the air, so I told her I think I should give it back to him as soon as possible. I'm sure he's looking for it too. Mi-chan said okay twice and walked away waving. I hadn't yet thought about how I was going to ask for help when I would meet him. He seems to be in a higher position than Rina-san and her partner. If he agreed to help me, it would be very encouraging. But there's a possibility that he'd tell me he didn't want to interfere in other people's private matters. He could just say the whole thing was another love triangle between a father, his daughter, and his lover.
じゃあな、レナ、また明日な。
また明日ね。
I said goodbye to Keiichi and walked home alone. After Keiichi was gone, everything went quiet and my head became clear. What I needed at that moment was quiet time to think about what I should do from then on. I shouldn't depend on Kasai-san to solve my problem. He most likely declined my request, so I'll have to think about some alternatives. Good girl. Probably better that I just do that. A love triangle between a father, his daughter, and his lover. Those words bothered me because I've seen an unhappy triangle like that before. That sort of thing had happened to Satoshi-kun. Satoshi-kun experienced it last year. He fought for his sister in a triangle with his aunt. It was the same situation as mine. I'm trying to protect my father. Satoshi-kun fought alone. Nobody helped him. All I did for him was give him my sympathy and compassion. I didn't think I could do anything more than that. I felt sorry for him, but I didn't really help him out. Irresponsibly, I tried to cheer him up, and I probably told him something that I thought would make him feel better, but that hurt him instead. I recently realized how much I hurt him with my insensitivity, because Keiichi had just hurt me the same way. I'm going down the same path Satoshi-kun went last year. I feel like I'm experiencing deja vu, an unusual repetition. Would that mean that I'd be the one who gets demoned away this year? I should be okay. I wasn't thinking about running away from Minamizawa. Was I? I wasn't thinking about running away from Minamizawa, but I thought about running away from my home many times. That's why I made the place I could escape to in the garbage dump. That dump happened to be in Hinamizawa. But what if it wasn't? Running there would be the same as running away from Minamizawa. I shouldn't think like that. Oyashiro-sama will get mad at me. Oyashiro-sama is really scary. I saw flickering lights in my head. Oh no. Every time I tried to remember that time, my mind would stop working properly. I remembered the vivid colors of my psychoactive drugs. The flickering lights and clouds started spreading in my head. They were so bright and annoying. Don't try too hard to remember. Don't try too hard to remember. No. I couldn't stop the flickering lights in my head. I couldn't have that feeling. I had to fill my heart with another feeling. Yeah, there was no time for these crazy flickering lights in my head. I had to think about what I should do when Kasai-san declined my request for help. I had to protect my father from Rina-san and that bad man. Wait, why was I still calling her that? Rina is Rina. Rina. She's a bad person who deceived my father and tried to bring us unhappiness. Bad people bring bad things into the world without even doing anything. They're different from the other 90% of people who aren't bad. If you let them loose, they'll even ruin the people around them. When you have one bad tangerine in a box, it spreads its fungus to the other tangerines around it. That's what bad people are like. I couldn't remember how Satoshi-kun resolved his triangle last year, but I could still see the flickering lights in my head. They're still flickering. They're still flickering. They're still flickering. They're still flickering. Just as the swirl of flickering lights were making me dizzy, I saw my house. I also saw Rina-san's scooter parked by the side of the gate. When I saw the bike, the flickering lights disappeared and I regained control of myself. Rina-san spent the night last night. She told me she had to work today in the evening, so she should be leaving soon. I didn't want to be around her, even for a little while until she left. I said, "I'm home," real loud, rushed to the house, pretended that my friends were waiting outside, and rushed out of the house. But Rina-san stopped me.
あら、おかえり。
あ、こんにちは。
This was the first time I thought Rina-san's smile was ugly. It only stood to reason. I'd realized the scheme she was hiding behind the smile.
今日ね、キーマカレーがとっても美味しいお店でね。
My father poked his head out of the living room and says, "I want to go there next time we go. Really like that curry." I wonder if he meant with me next time, or with me and her. Anyway, I hate it when Rina-san says your father.
それで、レトルト後で美味しいから。レイナちゃんはこのお店知ってる？
I did know the restaurant she was talking about. I saw it in a magazine. It's a new restaurant that just opened recently. I also remember that it was an expensive restaurant. The amount of money they spent on take-home curry alone must have been enough to cover the cost of all of our dinners for several nights. Since I was aware of what was in the bank books, it was hard for me to stay calm.
それは楽しみ。ありがとうございますね、リナさん。
それでね、ちょっとみんなでお話。
ごめんなさい、ちょっと友達を待たせて。またゴミ捨て場で。
レイナちゃんは私も。
ではすみません。失礼します。
Every time Rina-san moved her arms or head, the scent of her perfume struck my nostrils. I hate the smell of her perfume, so I couldn't stay there a second longer. I rushed out of the house and started running to get away from her perfume. The rubber band inside me, the one called Reina, was stretched all the way to its limit. I'm pretty sure I'd explode and go crazy if the rubber band broke. I I don't want to feel like that inside my own house. My house was supposed to be the place where I could open my heart freely. I ran away. I ran away from there. I ran farther and farther away from there because it was no longer a place I belonged. It's not that I had a destination in mind. I was just running away. I was running to escape to a place where I did belong. Didn't I decide to fight against that woman? Didn't I decide to fight against her either by myself or with my father? But then once I saw her fake smile, a chill ran up my back. It was like I picked up a stone, found a carpet of bugs underneath it, and put it back on the ground in a hurry. I rushed out of the house as fast as I could. Did I want to fight? Or did I want to run away? Was I just choosing to spend a peaceful time at my hideout, believing that tomorrow would be the same as today? I couldn't do that. I didn't know when they'd spring their trap. I couldn't afford to waste any time. I knew that deep down. I knew that, but I just wanted to run away. I couldn't stop myself from running away. And so, I did run away. At times like this, the mattress in my hideout would feel so soft. That I knew. The cries of the Higurashi were soothing to the ears. They sounded as soft as my mattress. They were like music. They didn't force any feelings upon me. They cried as if to tell me to just be who I am. It was always so quiet here that I immediately noticed the purr of an engine coming closer. People used to come here and make a lot of noise during the dam conflict, but now nobody really comes here. This is a place forgotten. So it was rare to see somebody come through here at all. I sat on the roof of an abandoned car and waited for the intruder to go away without looking their way. But the purr of the engine stopped. I'm not stupid. If it stopped, I knew exactly what it had to be. I heard the person calling to me, but I ignored it once. The person came closer, making it harder for me to ignore her. She called my name again. I turned around this time.
リナさん、
レイナちゃん、
すみません。
She seemed to buy my poor excuse. She smiled and said, yeah, it happens sometimes.
一人お友達は？
一人で遊んでますよ。
その年でなかなか渋いわね。
Rina-san stretched and looked across the huge garbage dump.
しかし、知ってる？昔、平坂の2丁目にもタイヤの外れた車ばっかり積んであるところがあってね。
I wasn't interested in Rina-san's old story, but I pretended to listen and nodded. She doesn't take this road to go back to Okonomiya. I guess she knew I'd be here and came by to see me. What did she want? It was obvious that she was just trying to make conversation. She probably took it personally when I avoided her earlier, which must be why she was here to butter me up. It would be better for her not to have any conflicts with the daughter of the man she's seeing, no matter what the intention of seeing him is. In that sense, it was a reasonable action for her to take. While I listened to her old story, all I could think about was when she was going to leave. Didn't I have to fight against her? Didn't I decide to fight against her? Didn't I find out her plot at the coffee house in Okonomiya? Didn't I find out that this woman is squeezing money out of my father when I looked inside his cash box? I know who you are. Please leave my father alone. How easy it would be if those two sentences could solve the problem. She'd probably deny it. Even if I told her about what I heard at the coffee house, I have no evidence of her plot. If she said she did it because the vulgar man was threatening her, there would be nothing I could do. But I know this woman is a bad person. I know something horrible will happen in the near future if I waste time like this. A strange, tense feeling started coming over me, but I didn't know how to let it out. As the feeling started running high, I became unable to stand the smell of her perfume. I wanted to put a certain distance between me and her, so I climbed down the slope of the scrap heap. I kept going down and down, the slopes of the garbage dump. When I turned around, I saw her coming down as well, muttering. Was she following me? In order to run away from her, I started running down the slope all the way to the bottom, went around behind some trash piles and arrived at the front of my hideout. My escape was meaningless. Not only was she going to catch up with me eventually, all I did was let her know the way to my hideout that nobody was supposed to know about. Oh no. I wanted to make sure she never saw my precious hideout. Oh, Rena, no. Because already I was like, damn, now fucking, not only has Rena, like, made it impossible for her to stay at home, but now she started to, like, make moves into the dump, and now Rena's led her to the fucking hideout. I was about to leave, but then she appeared.
へえ、ちょっと素敵よね。
私だけのここには誰も来ないし、誰にも何も聞こえません。
Whoa, Reina. Goddamn. No one's here, and no one can hear us. Like, whoa, girl. You got a whole lot of nothing right now to be making some passive-aggressive threats like that. Yeah, no one can hear us down here. Like, Damn, girl. Okay. Wow.
レイナちゃんだけの嬉しいわね。そんな場所に連れてきてもらえるなんて。
She must have thought I told her my secret because she was worth sharing it with. She looked happy. She found the station wagon, looked inside of it through the window, and went all ooh and ah excitedly. This is a secret place that nobody else knows. I felt my consciousness was separating from my body, like I was floating. But it didn't feel good. Like when I drink amazake, it was more like being carsick. I felt like I was going to throw up. My brain was probably secreting some chemical in order to avoid facing the reality that I'd have to stay with this woman, that I couldn't run away from her. But even if my brain tried to avoid recognizing it, the reality in front of me wouldn't change.
そうそう。ねえ、
なんでしょう。
どうしたの？気分悪い？
いえ、平気です。
I inhaled fresh air and pulled my consciousness back to reality. I didn't feel like throwing up anymore, but I still felt off balance. I leaned onto a scrap of garbage to keep my balance.
私は、レイナちゃんは。
何ですか突
Yep,
然。
dodged the question. That's my girl. Don't give her a fake answer like, of course I do. It's like, oh, why are you talking about this? I like you. Do you like me? What brings on this conversation? Atta girl. I said that because I didn't want to say that I like her. Atta girl.
私ね、ずっとあなたのお父さんとお付き合いをしているんだけど、いろいろと話し合ってね。
I need to stop feeling like this. Get up, Reina. I'd heard something like this before. Part of me was trying to understand what this woman was trying to say, but another part of me was trying not to. Felt as if her words were bouncing around in my head. Started having a headache.
それでね、これからの生活やいろいろよ。
What?
レイナも秋人おじさんのこと好きでしょ？それでね、お母さん。
What's going on? Mother? What are you thinking about, Reina Ryugu? This is an important moment. You're about to have a one-on-one battle with Reina-san. Mom, what about my dad? What about me? I don't want you to divorce him. I don't want you to get remarried to anybody else. No, please don't divorce him. I'm not going to let you do that. I'm not going to let you get remarried.
再婚なんて
え？
お父さんとどういう付き合い方をしたって構いませんが、再婚なんて許さないです。
Oh, damn, girl. Just making a strong declaration like that? Okay. She must have not thought that I'd say it straight out like that. She looked stunned. After a while, she broke the silence with her laughter.
あ拒絶もあるかなとは思ってたけど。
拒絶もあるかなと私が拒絶していたのに気づいていたのは意外でした。
そんなのわかるでしょ。
Oh, damn, that's a face. Now let me see how that face looks. Okay, that's a very different face. Yeah, no, see, that's the thing. None of those faces convey the same way that that one does. And see, that one I feel like fits the actual statement more. Like, this one's more of like a angry look. They're both, like, these other two are like more angry. Whereas this one's like, oh yeah, I noticed your shit, you little brat. Right? She's like letting the mask drop a bit. Showing more of the demon within.
あんた、それで分かってないな。子供は嫌ね。
She frowned, revealing her ugly self. Should have been the first time I saw her face like that, but I wasn't surprised at all. Her face had looked like that to me from the beginning.
できれば上辺だけでもあんたとは仲良くしてたかった。私の高額のために教え。
最初から全部匂いも嫌い。
One vicious word came out of my mouth after the other. Damn, girl, she's just gonna let it fly, huh? I talk your shit, queen, let your nuts hang. I didn't have wings, but I felt as if I was flying up to the sky. I felt weird and uncomfortable, but also exhilarated. I mean, I kind of get that. Being able to finally tell someone off, even though, like, you're unsure of, like, what's gonna come after you tell them off. I've been in that situation. And, like, it's definitely a mix of things. Felt as if I was letting another me use my body. I was in the middle of a disastrous battlefield, but I felt like it wasn't even my business.
そりゃ、私もあんたのこと嫌いだ。なめんなクソガキ。 ガタガタ言わさ
二度とうちへ再婚なんて。
別にまああんたがうまく立ちまそんなの今さら意味ないし。
She didn't look intimidated by me at all. That made me feel a little intimidated in return. How was she so confident of her absolute control over my father? She had to have more than confidence to be able to act as fearless as this. She must have something tangible. Before I asked her what it was, she told me herself.
私ねプロポーズされたの。
No, you're not.
嘘だ。
嘘じゃないわよ。
Did they mention something about that? Because, like, on the surface, it seems like obvious bullshit, right? Like, oh, that's just a bullshit ploy, and then, like, there's the whole setup with, Tepe is gonna come in, like, oh, you made moves on my woman. Who the fuck do you think you are? You better pay me or I'm gonna fucking kill you. But I'm trying to think. I feel like I vaguely remember, like, in chapter 3, when they're talking about, like, the dead woman, after they do, like, an autopsy on the dead woman they find, which is definitely Rina. Was she pregnant? I can't remember if that was actually a thing. Because, like, some part of me is, like, thinking it was. I can't remember for sure, though. I feel maybe it's just my brain, like, saying, like, oh, just retroactively changing things. Because it's, been a hot minute since we've went through, especially the beginning of chapter 3. God, I feel like that was something that was mentioned. I just don't know for sure. Because, yeah, like, immediately my first thought is to reject and be like, nah, this is just a big fucking, just a plot point for her fucking scheme with Tepe, but...
本当よ。
it's a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie, it's all a big lie. She has to divorce because she got pregnant. She has to get married because she got pregnant. That's a lie, it's a big lie.
向こうからのお願いだから聞かないわけにもいかないしね。
I'm a Christian. Bitch, you a hoe. I'm a Christian. Nah. You a hoe. Which means, guess what? Pimp Daddy's gonna be like, nah, you take that little fucker out of there. I know how pimps be operating. They don't let they hoes have no babies. Oh yeah, you got me knocked up. Well then, fucking you hitting the Planned Parenthood then, bitch. I'm a Christian, so I can't get an abortion. Fuck off.
指輪ももらっちゃったし。
Oh, he'll just have to accept it.
それに結婚を前提のお付き合いだったわけだしね。指輪まで送っておいて今さらちゃぶ台返しなんてことになると最近は問題が多いわよね。
それが最初から私は聞いてる。お前と鉄という男が二人でお父さんのお金を目当てにひなみ沢の旦那と呼んで詐欺にかけようと葛西さんに聞いたから詐欺師だってことも全部知ってるんだ。
あら、あらららららら。
Before I knew it, Rena was standing right in front of me. Yeah, see, it probably wasn't the best to tell her that no one can hear us down here. Unless you had, like, an actual something you could back that, like, if you had your hatchet, like, hiding it, somewhere by the station wagon, then I'd be like, oh yeah, let your nuts hang, tell them ain't no one gonna hear us down here. But when you're fucking with a bitch that's actively a part of, like, the fucking criminal underworld and whatnot, like, saying no one can hear us down here is a very bold play. Very bold. We glared at each other with our faces almost touching.
で、レイナちゃんはそこまで知ってて。
お父さんに。
いやよ。こんな秘密の隠そういうお話か。だってここ誰も知らなくて。
そうです。誰も知らなくて誰も訪れることのない 忘れられた場所。
Our faces were so close to each other that our noses could almost touch. I knew what I was talking about, but I didn't know what would happen next. Couldn't back down now that it had come to this point. But I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I should do.
いやほらほら仲直り
Rena started laughing and slapped me on the back. My expression didn't change and I kept staring at Rena, but I didn't notice her real intention of putting both arms around my neck. Up! The tension broke, already stretched thin, and Rena squeezed my neck hard. I was openly hostile, but I didn't realize Rena's evil intentions until she started choking me.
子供のもうちょいで上辺だけでも仲良しってことになってりゃ口ばっかり滑らしか血にさらせやこら
I tried to pry her hands off my neck, but I didn't have the strength to do so.
殺しはした二度とこんなうまいかもにゃてめえ閉めて千万なら悪くはないさね どうせ巻き上げたら蒸発するつもりだったしさ上等くれたらこの野郎
The world around me got darker and darker. I had never known an evil intention like this, namely the intention to kill me. It didn't scare me though. That's because being scared is a feeling that people use to express how they feel when they see wildfire on the other side of a river. People on the island with the wildfire, their death's right in front of them. They don't get scared. If I loosened my grip on her hands even a little bit, she'd crush my throat. This was a simple competition to see who was stronger. Rena wanted to get into the most advantageous position, so she tried to push me to the ground so that she could mount me. If I let her do that, I wouldn't stand a chance. I tried to keep my current position, but I was losing a lot of energy by being choked. It was only a matter of time before Rena could push me down. I lost my balance on purpose. I tried to fall backwards in order to put her off balance. Couldn't hold my breath long enough to keep up that strength competition, so I had no choice but to take that chance. We fell on the ground, tangled together. But as Rena was strongly determined to kill me, she didn't even take her hands away from my neck after she fell. However, my action made Rena loosen her grip on my throat. It wasn't loose enough for me to break free from her grip, but it gave me a few moments to use my hands for something other than stopping her from crushing my throat. If I hadn't taken the chance, I would have been done for. That's why I tried to literally seize my chance and move both my hands on the ground. To seize that chance. I felt a piece of broken glass on my right hand. That was truly my chance to literally save myself from the brink of death. I cut Rena's wrist deep with a piece of glass. Atta girl! Rena tried to endure the pain for a few seconds, but pain that severe from someone so cornered soon broke her will. She let go of my throat, clinging to her bloody wrist. I used that moment to roll away from her. She screamed, both in pain, and also tried to intimidate me again. It didn't work anymore, though. Intimidation only works on the opponent when the opponent is hesitant to fight. When you're already in a fight, screaming like that means nothing more than letting the opponent know how badly you're hurt. I no longer had any hesitation. I had learned from Rena. She taught me what I have to do in a situation like this. That's right. This is my secret hideout. I know every single piece of junk in here. Maybe I knew that a day like this was coming. Was it just a coincidence that it was there? I had pulled out a meter-long lead pipe, and I was surprised to see it there. Oh, my girl. Nah, you... Okay. She didn't have the hatchet with her, but she's like, I know all the junk in this place. I know I got shit with me. So the moment she's in action, she's like, yep, oh hey, my trusty lead pipe. I raised it up high and brought it back down. There was no way Rena could block this hard and heavy lead pipe with just her arms. She probably tried to block it with the palms of her hands in order to take it from me, but her long nails wouldn't let that happen. Unable to catch the way she wanted, she broke her fingers and some of her nails came off too. Her scream made me realize that I had the advantage. An advantage I would have to keep. If I didn't, she'd turn the tables just like I did, and she'd choke me to death for sure. Rena shielded her head with her arms, but it didn't help. All that would change is that I'd break her arms before I broke her face. I'm serious too. Die. You should die. Yeah, that's right. I should have done this a long time ago. I didn't need proof. I didn't have to talk to anybody. That's stupid. That's nonsense. I should have done this a long time ago. If I had done it a long time ago, my father wouldn't have been deceived. I could have protected him. I could have protected my family. I could have protected my life. I could have been myself. My mother wouldn't have divorced my father. I could have stayed happy. I wouldn't have had to have been unhappy. I'm going to recapture my happiness. At this moment, I'm going to win back my happiness. I'm not going to cry for misfortune. I'm not going to give in to a fate of unhappiness. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to seize my happiness. Right now. With my own 2 hands. Rena tried to run away from me, but as she no longer had the use of her hands, it made it difficult for her to stand up to escape, especially since there were scraps of junk everywhere on the ground. After all, this is my hideout. This is my territory. Nobody can run away from me here. She tried to climb up the slope with the garbage, slipped, fell, and rolled all the way back down. She didn't stand up or move. Her eyes were open and her neck was bent at an unnatural angle. I didn't know how to make sure she was dead, so I kept looking at her opened eyes for a while. She could be faking it for all I know, but she didn't close her eyes no matter how long I waited. I scooped up a handful of sand and threw it at her face. She still didn't close her eyes. Blood pipe slipped out of my hand and hit the ground. When I tried to pick it up, I realized how heavy it was. I was surprised that I was wielding it as though it was a knife. I was sweating all over. The cold wind felt good on my skin. The cries of the Higurashi were calming me down and healing my soul. Rena was just like a broken dummy now. She had become a piece of junk. I am the owner of this land of junk, and I've defended it from her intrusion. Now she was a resident of this junkyard. I didn't feel bad about killing her. In fact, I felt rather fulfilled that I defeated the evil woman who had deceived my father. I started breathing slowly and calmly, and I regained enough energy to analyze the situation. I have to hide her body. First, I had to get rid of her scooter. I climbed up the slope and kicked her scooter down the hill. It rolled down the slope, making a lot of noise, blended in with all the junk as it stopped, like it was there from the beginning. I went back down the slope, started dragging her body to my hideout. Should have taken as much effort as dragging a 50-kilo sandbag, but it felt lighter than that. It was just a sandbag, yet it brought disaster to my family. I didn't lure her here in order to kill her. Or did I? Maybe I just didn't notice that I had had that intention deep down in my heart. But even so, I felt like this was the best and most expedient solution. There was no better solution than killing her. How wasteful to depend on someone to help me, to wait for the day to come when they will. I remembered the murder of Satoshi-kun's aunt that happened last year. I had no doubt that Satoshi-kun murdered her, but I've never been as convinced as I am right at this moment. How could he have saved Satoko-chan, other than by killing his aunt last year, at that time, in that circumstance? My situation was much the same as his. How could I have saved my father other than by killing her? If I was planning a murder, I would have been under a lot of pressure and stress. But for better or for worse, the moment came to me out of nowhere. That's why I believe I solved my problem with as little trouble as possible. Now that she's gone, will anyone become suspicious about her disappearance? I mean, for sure. But then the question remains, if this is like giving us insight to what happened to the event at the beginning of chapter 3, how did the body wind up in Okonomiya? Because that's what happened. It winds up in some kind of like ditch in Okonomiya. She was an irresponsible person who skipped work at her own convenience, so I didn't think anyone would get suspicious when she'd disappear one day. She was a big mess from the start. People will think she went into hiding because she got into deep trouble with someone. I need to fabricate an alibi. All I needed to do was get rid of her body. It took me a while to figure out how to do that last part. Hiding her body would be very risky, but my brain had become so calm that I did some calculations and came up with an answer right away. Yes, this place is still the safest. This is a place forgotten. Nobody comes here. Nobody knows this place is here. I knew that because I'd been spending a lot of time here. Compared to taking the risk of carrying her body to some other place, it was a lot safer just to hide it here. But it wasn't perfect yet. This place wouldn't remain a secret forever. I could hide it here for now, but I'd have to come up with the perfect way to make it completely disappear. It's a lot easier to think about than thinking about how to make Arina break up with my father. That is something that they mentioned before, yeah, too, about how, like, the body was clearly, like, beaten before it was, placed in the ditch. It wasn't beaten near the ditch. It was something that, like, the body had been moved. They were able to figure that out. I stuffed her corpse into a broken refrigerator in a trash pile. Oh, damn. Actually pretty solid thinking. I wanted to cover the refrigerator with dirt and bury it, but that was too easy. I had to chop the corpse into pieces and make them completely disappear. I felt like it got dark all of a sudden. No, it didn't get dark all of a sudden. I just didn't realize it was getting dark until just then. I hear thunder from a distance. It might rain soon. Perfect! Wash away the blood! I could use some rain. It'd wash Reina's dirty blood into the ground. I should go home. I should think about what I'd do tomorrow. I was going to stay right beside my father until he forgets about her. He might be hurt at first, but we're going to recapture our happiness for sure. Our happy, peaceful life. Yeah. I don't know about that, sweetie. My body was heavy with exhaustion, but I also felt fulfilled because I took a very important first step today. I'll keep taking one step after another. I'm not going to cry anymore. I'm not going to cry until I win back my happiness. I'm not going to cry again. Damn. Oh.
再婚なんかする必要ないよ。
So is that why Teppei ends up moving back to Hinamizawa? Is like he's actually trying to figure out who killed his hoe? He's on his own fucking kind of investigation? Or does he worry that, like, because clearly she does move the body at some point. Like I said, if this is like a prelude to the beginning of chapter 3, it ends up in Okonomiya at some point. So if he finds Rina dead in a ditch in Okonomiya, he might feel he's unsafe in Okonomiya, and that brings him back. That, or I think it's more likely like, well, I know she had this mark in Hinamizawa, so clearly if I go to Hinamizawa, and like, I might be able to make some inroads there and figure out who killed my hoe. Or it could be that he doesn't know of her death just yet. That it's like, it's not her death that caused him to move. It could be that like, oh, she disappears, so he's curious where she went, so he moves to Hinamizawa knowing she had a mark there, looking for where she went, looking for where she ended up, right? And then he finds out she got murdered. And then he finds out, yeah, we identified the body. I can see that being the case as well. That was the first thing I said after I got home. My father looked stunned. Reina. I love you, girl. That's not the first thing you should say. Nothing is gonna make you look more suspicious when, you know, they start to piece together that Rina has disappeared. Than being like, yeah, no, like, Rina left the house one day, said she was gonna go try to talk to Reina, and Reina just came home that night and said, I don't need to get remarried. And I was like, that's a very strange thing to say. Like, surely that has no connection to Rina's disappearance. God damn. I get it. She's like, she's in her zone right now. She's not really thinking too much. I'm sure her thoughts are more preoccupied with what she's gonna do with Rina's body, but like, oh, that's not the right move. He noticed the sad tone of my voice, and realizing that I didn't agree with the idea of his remarriage, he looked down.
無理もない。レイナの気持ちも事前にレイナにもよく。
プロポーズなんて取り消せばいい。
あんな女なリナさんは。
本当のことは、あの女と鉄という男は我が家の財産を狙ってお父さんに近づいてきただけ。
My father didn't get it right away, of course. He looked upset instead because I called her that woman. Should have chosen my words a little more carefully, but I think I told him the truth clearly enough. Told him everything I heard and saw at the coffee house. As I expected, he defended Rina anyway. I was upset, but at the same time, it made me certain that there was no other way than to kill her. Felt the pressure on my shoulders lessen for some reason. My father thought he needed my approval for his remarriage, so he held back his anger and put on a fake smile on his face instead.
なあ、レイナ。そうすればきっと分かってくれるから。
A tamed animal is still tamed, even after the owner is dead. That's okay. I'll open the gate anyway. Even a tamed animal will notice one day that he's no longer in captivity. That's not something I could teach him. He had to realize it on his own. I couldn't stand his fake smile anymore, so I left the living room. Time healed the pain from the divorce. Time heals any kind of pain, just like how dripping water will eventually bore a hole through solid rock. I did what I could. Now I have to wait. The day I was going to wait for came earlier than I expected. At midnight of the following day, we had a visitor. It was Techan. Teppei Hojo. Teppei didn't even knock on the door to get in. He broke into the house by smashing the window. At first I thought he came here to ask about Rina's whereabouts, but I was wrong. The real reason why Teppei came here was because it was their plan. It was the last stage of their badger game. Rina was probably supposed to be in bed with my father at that time tonight. Teppei must have wanted to show up and catch them sleeping together. Teppei looked around the house, but he couldn't find Rina. He didn't change the plan, though. Grabbed my father by the collar and started yelling threats. He showed my father a certificate of marriage to Rina and shouted at him, saying, "You got my wife pregnant. How are you going to take responsibility?" My father had no idea she was married. He looked shocked. My father is a short guy who was faint of heart. He just let Teppei do and say whatever he wanted from beginning to end. I looked at them from a distance coldly. The more Teppei yelled and threatened my father, the faster he'd wake up from his bad dream. This was a medicine for him. Teppei was cutting out the cancer that I was going to depend on time to do, and he was doing a great job of it. I waited to help my father until I was sure that he had finally awakened from his bad dream. I had told Teppei that I had something very important to tell him and took him outside.
で、重要な。
リナさんって昨日以来、実はリナさん事情。
あ？どういうこと？
リナさんから哲平さんが来たら。
あ？律子のやつどうしたんね
At a girl ran up. The old 2 for 1? God damn. Yeah, no, Rina said she wanted to see you when you came back. And then you just fucking ambush him and take him out there? Okay, so this is clearly not following the events of chapter 3. This is its own fucking story, but like... God damn, girl. She watched her pops get his ass beat, just be like, yeah, you're learning your lesson now, aren't you? Yeah, I was right, wasn't I? Alright, you've had enough. Teppei, got something to show you. God damn, girl. She's like, yeah, no. Rina's hiding out. Said she wanted to meet you somewhere. Come on, follow me. Yeah. She's gonna pop open that fridge. She's like, what the fuck? And then, while he's distracted, bam, lead pipe. Fuck, maybe she even moved her hatchet out there. I don't know. We walked in the dark with a flashlight to the place where nobody comes. Nobody can hear us. The place forgotten. He asked me many things on the way, but I couldn't answer any of them. I just told him to ask Rina. The way I said it made him think that Rina was going to betray him and get married to my father for real. Even though he was breathing heavily in a rage, he walked right behind me without any suspicions. I knew this day was going to come very soon, so I was well prepared for it. We reached the place where I originally planned to bring him, and I turned off the flashlight all of a sudden.
どうしたんね
Everyone gets nervous when the only light in the dark goes off. But this is my territory. I didn't need any light. I could feel my surroundings even better with my eyes closed. I grabbed the big hatchet I'd hidden in a bush and lifted it up
ご
high.
めんなさい。ちょっと待ってください。
ああ、はよせんとね。
I purposely sounded weak and helpless, while I raised the hatchet into the air.
ああ、ライ出すんね。
Teppei found a lighter in his pocket and lit it up. He probably couldn't understand the sight illuminated by that small light. He saw a girl lifting up a big hatchet right in front of him.
Huh?
Teppei's eyes went wide. He didn't understand what was going on, but he understood that his life was in danger. And yet, he must not have been able to think fast enough to deal with it, even though he understood what he should do. Even if he could think fast enough and blocked his head with his arms, it wouldn't have meant anything. I knew Teppei would come to my house eventually. That's why I prepared for that day. I just didn't think the preparation was going to bear fruit tonight. I chose my weapon very carefully. I planned when, where, and how I was going to attack him. And so, there can only be one result. The hatchet cut deeply into his forehead. I felt an indescribable vibration through the hatchet when it hit him. This told me that I broke his skull. He bragged about how good he was at fighting at the coffee house, but he sure went down quickly when faced with a murderous weapon. My only question is, like, seeing everything play out, obviously there's going to be a lot more that transpires after this, but like, you did set up that meeting with Kasai. What are you going to do now? Just try to play it off like, oh, is this yours? I think you dropped it. No, that's not mine. Oh, I'm sorry. I made you come out here all the way for nothing. Okay, well, bye. Like, He was done in by a single blow, which, that alone, Reina clears Keiichi. Like, yes, Reina had a sharp object and Keiichi had a blunt one, but in one single blow, boom, done. If Keiichi was actually strong with a fucking metal bat, come on. Come on. I just gotta say, this is a clear example of how weak Keiichi is. Like, well, no, I was gonna say, like, obviously Reina has a lot more motivation and determination to take him out, but, like, by the point Keiichi was in that moment with Teppei himself, like, clearly at that point, he should have had the determination and motivation. That's the thing. He said his vision was turning red. He was getting that bloodlust. It's like, I just think it's a clear example of how fucking piss weak Keiichi is, alright? The fact that this girl, like, yes, she had a hatchet, which obviously that's going to provide a bit more of an advantage. But I feel like a young man, a young boy, a teenage boy with a metal bat, if she with one swift strike of a hatchet could fucking split through his skull no problem, then Keiichi with a fucking huge, like, fucking swing down with several swings too, because that's the thing. Because Teppei was like on his scooter right when Keiichi ambushed him. He knocks him off the scooter and then starts swinging on him. And even when he's got all that advantage, right, of like being able to swing back and slam that bat down on the ground, all that momentum and force bringing down on it, that's more than what Reina would have had. Because I can tell you for sure that Teppei would be standing taller than Reina is, right? So she wouldn't have near as much like distance to build up like the momentum in her hatchet than like Keiichi would have with the bat, right? Because you think about it, if she's like, so I'm thinking like she's holding the hatchet with both hands, winding it behind her back and letting go, but like, and then swinging downwards. That's the thing. She wouldn't even be able to make like a full arc down because, like I said, Teppei would be standing above her. So like, if you think like, it'd be like just barely like if her hatchet behind her head, if you think about it in like terms of angles, it'd be like just barely a 90-degree swing, right? It'd just be like a little over 90 degrees. Because like behind her back would be like baseline, right above her head would be like 90 degrees, and then I don't know how far away he was standing away from her, but also the fact she would have to be staying fairly close because he would be standing taller than her. So like just barely like a 90-degree fucking swing to catch him in the fucking forehead, right? Like not very much distance to really wind up a whole lot of power and momentum, right, in your fucking swing. But just with that short amount of space she had to actually wind up and swing, cleaved clear through his fucking forehead. Whereas you think about Keiichi, Teppei's on the fucking ground, right? He is on the ground. Fucking dazed and confused. And Keiichi is able to, do that same wind up, swing the bat behind his head, and then swing downwards. But he has so much more of an arc, because he goes from behind his head all the way to the ground. Which, that would definitely go past like a 180 fucking swing. Probably not quite a 270, because that would like come back to essentially Keiichi's legs. But pretty damn close, because like Teppei would have been on the fucking ground as Keiichi's swinging downwards, right? So Keiichi would have had like a huge fucking range of motion, this huge swing to really build up momentum and force as he swings it downwards, right? I just think this is just a prime example that Keiichi is piss weak. The fact that Reina with like half the fucking range kills him in a single blow, and Keiichi, sure, with a blunt weapon instead of a sharp one, but with like double the fucking range of motion, And with several swings at that, because he swung on Tepe several times before Tepe got up and started running. With several swings, was not able to crush his fucking skull, was not able to make a fucking dent in it. That's insane. That's actually insane. Tepe slowly fell to his side with the hatchet in his forehead. And how are you going to explain this to your dad? It's enough to have this conversation with your father that, like, oh, Rena was setting you up this whole time, but, like, you never made mention of, like, where Rena went, right? But what are you going to do? What are you going to tell your father when the last thing your father sees is essentially you going, hey, Tepe, let me talk to you outside. I want to show you something. I know where Rena is. Come follow me. And then you just come home like, yeah, he's gone. Like, what, you managed to talk him down? Is your father going to be that fucking gullible? I doubt your father's going to just, even if you tell your father the whole truth, you're like, yeah, no, I killed him. Put a fucking hatchet in his skull. I can't believe your father's just going to sit back and be like, oh, well, I guess that's that then. Like, what's your move now? Because Rena, you could dodge that one for a while, because, like, your father has no idea that, Rena actually found you, right, and, interacted with you. Your father has no idea of that. He could know that, like, maybe Rena went out of her way to go talk to you, but you could honestly just have plausible deniability to be like, oh, yeah, no, I left. I went over to so-and-so's house. Or, I went up to the temple grounds to see if, because I know Satoko and Rika live up there. I went to see if they were around, but they were busy with something, so I came back home. Yeah, no, I never ran into Rena. And she could still say that she knows, like, the whole pregnancy thing is bullshit. Or that the whole remarriage thing is bullshit without mentioning the pregnancy, right? The fact that she did mention the pregnancy already kind of implicates that they had the conversation. But, like, you could easily come back from that and be like, yeah, no, your whole set... Oh, and by the way, your whole setup's bullshit, because I overheard all this at the coffee house. With Rena, there was ways to sidestep it, right? Like, eventually someone was going to go looking for a body, and that was going to be the, that was going to be a whole other bridge to cross. But just avoiding your own father's suspicion, easy enough. Very easy enough. To where your father's going to be like, oh, well, yeah, no. And obviously, a father's first instinct is not to suspect that his kid's a murderer, right? Unless the evidence is so blatantly obvious. But, like, that's not going to be your immediate suspicion. But when the last thing he sees is his daughter just going, hey, Rena wanted to talk to you. I know where she's at. Follow me. Well, actually, no, he doesn't hear that. The last thing he sees is Rena going, Tepe, can I talk to you outside? That's the last thing the father sees. If we assume that he didn't overhear anything they talked about after they left the house, the last thing the father sees or hears is his daughter going, hey, Tepe, can I talk to you outside real quick? And then what, she's just going to come home like, she's going to come back home however long later? Because clearly, she left for a bit of time because she leads him all the way to the garbage dump, kills him, and then she's clearly going to do something with the body too. So she's going to be gone for a certain amount of time, come home, and the father's going to be wondering, so, like, what the hell happened? Like, you were gone for quite a while, like, what's going on here? What happened? What are you going to say? Like, I convinced him to go away. How? Right? Like, you looked like a victim in a B movie. I killed this big guy with just one hatchet. He was probably quite experienced in the world of violence, but I was better than him when it came to killing. Why? Because I've killed someone before. I mean, I will give you that one. It's a very well-known thing that, like, that's something they tell you a lot is, like, after you actually kill someone the first time, it became so much easier to do it the next time, right? I feel like that's something that does get perpetrated a lot in, like, movies and whatnot, but I feel like that is something that is actually present in real life. I feel like real people have actually talk about that. Like the first time's always difficult, but once you've done that first time, once you've crossed that line and done it the first time, any consequential times you attempt to do it, it's so much easier than that first time to do it. So that is probably true. And that is probably where Keiichi was lacking in his, endeavor, right? Whereas, like, Reina, she's already crossed that line. She's already taken a life. She doesn't have that hesitation holding her back, right? Whereas, like, Keiichi, like, sure, he's determined to do it. He wants to do it. He feels this drive to do it. But it's the first time he's ever crossed that line. He hasn't lost that part of him. He hasn't fully crossed that line to where he's lost all his reservations about it. It's all done now. I mean, sure, it's done in the sense that your father doesn't have to deal with it anymore. But I feel like there's definitely going to be a lot more that happens. These two might have been scumbags, but also, because that's the thing, Rina, like I said, Rina did work for a Sonozaki establishment. And for all I know, Teppei might have even had connections due to, like, his fucking ugly work that he does and whatnot. I don't know that for sure, but, like, wouldn't surprise me. It's not just gonna blow over. Like, yeah, they were two, like, very, undesirable people in society. But, like, I'm sure someone's gonna notice that they're dead. Not even dead, but that they've disappeared. There's gonna be someone who wants to look more into it, right? The bad people who deceived my father and tried to rob him blind are all gone. I did what I had to in order to protect my life. If I had this much courage and determination when my mom told me about the divorce, I might have killed Akihito. See, that one would have been... I feel like that one would have been crossing a line. Like, Teppei and Rina, those are, like, detestable people. Does it necessarily mean they're worthy of death? No, alright? Doing fraudulent scams and whatnot, that's not something I would quite say death penalty for. But also, it's a bit more... It kind of goes back to what they were talking at the very end of the previous chapter, right? Like, at what point can you sympathize with a killer, right? I think it's less about sympathizing with the killer and more so about not sympathizing with the victim. To where it's like, yeah, I don't think those kind of crimes are necessarily deserving of death, but because these people were nothing but scam artists who did nothing but ruin other people's lives, and we know that Teppei himself was also, involved with what happened with Satoshi and Satoko, right? Like, the aunt was the victim that night, but, like, he definitely played a part in it. Up until the point he left them, he was also contributing to the abuse in that household. So knowing that these are the kind of people that died, you don't sympathize with them that much for the fact that they're dead. Whereas, like, Akihito in this situation, yeah, he's a homewrecker. He came in, fucking made moves on, the guy's wife and, broke the family apart. And that's detestable. But, like, I would have, like, if he would have ended up dead, I've been like, that's a bit much. That's a bit much. Rina and Teppei, you know what? It's like, like, honestly, I feel like Rina's kind of right. I feel like Reina was kind of right in that there really was no other, like, course of action that would actually save her father from their schemes, right? Short of her, like, short of Kasai actually accepting her, her pleas, right? If she had come to her begging and pleading, be like, please, please put pressure on them to stay away from my father. Like, on the very, very off chance that Kasai actually accepts that request, then maybe that's like the one and only point where I could be like, okay, like, yeah, you get someone else to put pressure on them to back the fuck off. Totally fine. Then at that point, yeah, you've scared them off. People don't have to die necessarily. But that was a very 1 in a million chance, and this one is a lot more certain. And I mean, like my brain keeps telling me like, yeah, like they didn't necessarily deserve. Okay, no. Actually, rewind the tape. Rena did deserve it. She straight up tried to kill a child because the child exposed her schemes. Rewind the tape. Actually, Rena fully deserved it. Rena crossed a line, and that made Reyna cross a line. Yeah, no, because Rena made it a life or death situation, and Reyna acted. You know what? Rena 100% deserved it. Up until that point, she was just a scam artist. Then she straight up became an attempted child murderer, right? Then at that point, it's like, Rena truly died as a result of self-defense, right? Tepe, that's a bit of a different story. But Reyna's actions against Rena were truly self-defense. Like, sure, at some point, I'm sure Reyna could have stopped. But at that point, like, you already know this woman has attempted to take your life. She's, vocalized out loud that she wanted to kill you. At that point, defending yourself like that, I don't know how the courts would handle it, but like, no, Reyna I will actually defend Reyna 100% on that one. Reyna was 100% right to do what she did to Rena. Okay, maybe not as far as like chopping up the limbs and shoving her in a fridge. That's a bit more like, okay, you're trying to hide something or whatnot, but Rena, you could 100% chalk up to self-defense. She chased me to the garbage dump. She started choking me, said she was going to kill me. So I broke free and defended myself. I'll 100% give her points. Once she mutilated the body like that, dismembered it and whatnot, that's when you kind of lose your, like, I guess your legal defense in that case. It's like, clearly, like, okay, this was a bit more than self-defense, but like, the actual death of Rena, I'll defend that one. That one was like truly a life or death situation, and homegirl acted. I can defend that one. Tepe is an interesting one because obviously he's a detestable person, right? He's a pimp, a scam artist, a child abuser. He's a terrible person, right? The world is a better place without him in it. And like she's saying right now, with the fact that like, oh, Tepe was well versed in violence, but not well versed in killing, right? That's the like, Tepe isn't necessarily a murderer. He's definitely a violent asshole, but he's not necessarily a murderer. At least from what we've seen. We don't know for sure if he's actually willing to cross that line. Like, I feel no sympathy towards him. I feel like society as a whole is definitely better without him in it. But that's one where it's like, that's not one you can really defend, right? Well, I guess in a sense you can. I'd say, if nothing else, I don't know. I'm trying to think of how it would have been. I try to think of like, I'm trying to think of like how it would look better from more of a legal sense, right? Because like, if a burglar, essentially this is what it is, like someone broke into their house, right? There was a home invader, and she lured him away from the home and then incapacitated him, right? But the fact that there was already a hatchet waiting in the bushes and whatnot clearly shows evidence of premeditation. That she had actually planned it. So as much as I'm sure she didn't want to get, she didn't want her father to see her kill someone. She didn't want to get blood in the home, so on and so forth. I feel like the more defensible move, honestly, is to try to, like, have something set up in the home. So when you know that Tepe eventually shows up, you take him out there. Maybe not necessarily with a hatchet, but, like, have some way to defend yourself. But maybe the thing, the hatchet was kind of key. Because if she had a metal bat or something similar, like the lead pipe or something, like Keiichi had, there's no guarantee she would actually be able to take him down, and could have potentially, pissed him off more, which made him more dangerous. So maybe you do stick with a sharp object of some kind. But even still, I'd say plan to have something more in the home, so that way it's more defensible, right? Technically, it is still premeditated because you knew he was going to show up at some point. But that way, to the outsider looking in, it looks just like a home invader shows up, and you were trying to, and it was an act of self-defense, purely of self-defense, right? But clearly, anyone looks at this, and that's the thing. Her father would probably be shocked to see his daughter kill someone, or, grievously injure someone. But I feel like that'd be a lot more, he'd be a lot more accepting of his daughter, doing that in an attempt to defend their home, than finding out that she had absolutely planned for this eventuality and had a whole setup waiting and was waiting to take this guy out, right? Which is very much like, I don't know how else the father could read this, right? Like, you led Tepe away and just talked him out of it. Like, clearly he's going to suspect something. And that's what I'm very interested to see. That's what I'm very interested to see play out. Like, how is the father going to react to this? I'm also curious how this is going to affect, then, the Watsunagashi festival, right? Because something has to happen there, right? Something happens to Takano and Tomitake, right? But how are the deaths of Rina and Tepe going to play into that? Right? Are people going to go looking for them? Or, like, clearly their deaths come to light, right? Because that's very much what the beginning of this chapter was setting up. Because right now what we're seeing is all just a retelling that Reina is giving us, right? In the present day, the crew is all gathered in the dump while Reina is, like, telling her story of what happened. So at some point this does all come to light, but I feel like there's still plenty of game left. We're still very early on in the chapter from what I can tell, which is, I think this is the first time we've had this much action going on this early in the chapter. But, like, I feel like there's definitely more that has yet to play out, so I'm very curious how we get to the point we saw at the very beginning of the chapter, if this is only the beginning, right? Anyway, if I did, I would have taken the life of only one. Because I couldn't do it back then, I've had to kill 2 people in the last 2 days. Reina, let's finish it up. There's already a place to hide his body. I took care of everything. My hands were wet, so I shone the flashlight at them. Thought it was blood, but it was just sweat. Even so, I still felt uncomfortable and shone the flashlight at my hand several times. I did all this in order to be happy. I did all this, so I should be happy now. I tried so hard, but I got blood on my hands. I wanted to get credit for that from him. Oyashiro-sama, let me ask you a question. I can finally rewind the time back to the day everything started to go wrong, can't I? I'm going to stay in Hinamizawa. I'm going to live happily, with my father, forever. Yeah, no, unfortunately. I sure wish it would work like that for you, girl, but I know better. It's rare to see Reina sleep in class. Okay, so the color of the text usually indicates a different perspective, right? So if it's green, I want to assume Mion. That's the thing. If the green text means it's Mion, I do know in the coffee house we saw green text as well, which would indicate that Shion had seen her ahead of time, right? Or maybe even Mion had seen her ahead of time and sent Shion in there. She isn't the kind of girl who sleeps in class because of staying up so late. She had to be tired from doing housework or something. Something like that, sure. Everybody seemed to be thinking the same thing. Nobody tried to wake her up, not even Chie-sensei. She got up for a few seconds and went back to sleep. She swayed back and forth like she was rowing a boat. But she's in class, so I should wake her up, right? I was about to wake her up, but before my hand touched her, Mion gave me a sign not to. Okay, so this isn't Mion's perspective. We must be back to Keiichi then? Is my vision fucked? Because, like, I'm, like, trying to get real up close to the screen right now. Is it just white text? I don't know. It has, like, I swear it has, like, a green tint. When I actually, like, sit back and, like, sit normally, it has, like, a green tint to it. But maybe it just looks weird after I've been seeing Reina's pink text for so long. No, I feel like there is a different color to it, though. Because, like, even looking at it on the capture on the other monitor here, it still looks kind of off. I feel like that's a different color text. Am I bugging? I might be bugging. No, that's definitely a different color text. That is absolutely not the same shade as the text in the log, which is actually the white text. Right? Am I fucking losing it? No, I swear. I swear that's right. I swear that's right. One sec, can I make the text box, like, darker? Text box opacity. No opacity. Wrong button. Okay, wrong direction, I mean. Text box, hella opacity. Guys, I might be fucking losing it. I'm not gonna lie, I might be fucking losing it. Okay, I'm just gonna stop thinking about it. We're just gonna keep reading. Holy fuck. I swear it looks different though.
寝かせてあげなよ。
Fuck, maybe it isn't.
たまにはそういう日もあるよ。
うん、それもそうだな。
I heard a few days ago that Reina lives with her father. She studies during the day, plays a lot for school, and does things around the house after that. I didn't know that. I also didn't know her mother divorced her father. Mion told me that, and she also told me not to talk about it because Reina is still hurt by the divorce.
そんな苦労をしてるなんて全然気づきもしなかったぜ。
I don't want to keep lingering on it, but I swear that text looks so fucking different now. I think it must be an after effect of seeing Reina's pink text for so long. I genuinely think that has to be what it is. Like, maybe the text has always looked like this, but then after seeing so much of that pink text and then jumping back to this text, it looks like it stands out so much differently. It just looks so different, and it's like my brain's not processing it right. I don't know. I swear it looks like it's tinted green, though. I swear to God. Anyway.
レナはそういうのを表に出さないタイプだよね。ひょっとすると、普段陽気に振る舞っているのも、そういう風に意識して振る舞っているからかもね。
Reina told me that happy days will one day come to an end. She told me she knew that firsthand. What could she have been through? I had no idea. It's probably why she tried to spend as much time as peacefully and cheerfully as she could. Must have hurt her feelings when I said I was bored of having happy days. When I thought about it, I felt bad for living off my parents, who were both healthy and happy. For that matter, Satoko and Rika-chan lost their parents too. Mion lives with her grandmother, away from her parents, because she needs to learn to be the head of the Sonozaki family in the future. When I realized all that, I felt bad about my situation.
別にケイちゃんが両親と生活してることを申し訳なく思うことはないよ。
Mion seemed to have read my mind. She said it with a cool expression on her face.
確かに家族ってのは生まれてきた子供である私たちにとって一番最初のコミュニティなんだと思う。でもね、コミュニティは家族だけじゃないんだよ。
仲間か。
わかってるじゃん。
俺たちはレナにとって家族に負けないくらいの存在なんだろうか。
掃除洗濯、炊事に買い物、それに疲れて昼寝だけして過ごすことだってレナには。でもレナはそれをしない。放課後の時間いっぱいを。それはつまりなんて言えばいいのかな。
レナにとっては家族と同じくらいの意味のある仲間ってことなのか。
Mion looked stunned, as if she didn't understand what I was talking about.
ああ、ケイちゃんが今日まで仲間って言葉をどういう意味で使ってきたか知らないけどさ、仲間ってのは家族と全く同格じゃないのかな。
難しく考えることではないのですよ。
Rika-chan joined our conversation.
居場所があればいいのです。それがある場所、家族と言ったり仲間と言ったり、呼び方が少し変わるだけのことなのですよ。
リカちゃんにとって家族と仲間は同じものか。
Well, I mean, yeah, she doesn't have family, jackass.
僕はそう、サトコもミーも、そしてレナもそうだと思いますですよ。
だから私たちはいつも一緒にいようとするんじゃないかな。
リカちゃんはみんなといると寂しくないか。
みんなは家族なので寂しくなんかないのですよ。
Mion nodded in agreement. Satoko was talking with her other classmates, but I'm sure she would nod as well. Reina would too.
俺ちょっと恥ずかしいよ。
ん？
今日まで俺本当の意味で理解してなかったと思う。仲間ってのはもっともっと大切でかけがえのないすげえもんなんだよな。
それすっごく当たり前のことだからさ。
Like fucking duh.
もし今日まで分かってなかったならよく胸に刻んだ方がいいよ。
そうだな、そうするぜ。
あとそれを二度と口にしない方がいいかもだね。今ケイちゃんかなり恥ずかしいこと言ってたと思うよ。
After all that, Mion still made fun of me. I think I understand a little better why Reina was always so serious about having fun. I want to be your best friend. I want to do my best to be deserving of her effort.
ほう。
Reina snored. It sounded cute. Jia-sensei let her sleep in class, but she couldn't let her get away with snoring.
委員長竜宮さんをレーナほらほら。
Reina was still half asleep and made a strange noise. Everybody in the class laughed. Reina noticed they were laughing at her, woke up right away, and acted like she wasn't sleeping at all. It looked really funny, and I burst into a fit of laughter. Outside the window, the sky was blue, and the clouds were pure white. It was still June, but it looked like the middle of summer. This perfect weather wouldn't last forever. It could get cloudy and rain all of a sudden. That's why we had to play and raise a ruckus while we still had this perfect weather. Cries of the cicadas sound as if they're laughing at us because we still have some classes left. Ah, damn it. I can't wait for school to finish.
どうしたんだケイチ君、すっごく嬉しそうだね。
別に今日は今日だし、明日は今日が晴れてるなら明日の天気なんか知ったこっちゃないってことだから、今日という日を俺は精一杯遊び倒したい。いつ天気が崩れたって後悔しないくらいに徹底的にな。
I learned that from Reina. I learned that peaceful days are the happiest days you can have, and that they're irreplaceable.
ミオ、今日の部それに最近罰ゲームがちょいと刺激不足だぜ。
言うねケイちゃん。そこまで言うなら今日の放課後には
ケイチ君。
おいおい、臆すのかよレナ。上等じゃないかよ。また俺たちの実力で大暴れしてやろうぜ。俺とレナの決着だって まだまだついちゃいないんだからな。
I grinned at her and she grinned back.
それもそうだね。よーし、レナも思いっきり頑張るぞ。レナさんには先日の借りがございますものね。きっちり倍返しさせていただきましてですわよ。
いいねいいね、盛り上がってきたよ。
早く放課後になるといいのです。
I couldn't wait either, but the time we spend just talking together is also very precious.
そうだな、早く放課後になるといいな。
Mm-hmm. That's nice and all, but I know shit's gonna turn south. My favorite wine? Who the hell out here drinking wine? Satsuko went to join the children playing in the schoolyard. I was gonna say, that little thumbnail, it looked like the building that Satsuko and Rika live in. Neither of you should be drinking wine. So I didn't feel like going, I decided to stay home. That's true, we did see a tip scene that was also from Rika's perspective. We did see that. Most likely she wouldn't be back until the evening. When Satsuko wasn't around, I had ways of spending time without her. Besides, that was what I wanted to do anyway. I stuck my hand deep inside the pile of winter futons in the closet and pulled one out. Next, I filled a stylish-looking glass with ice. The ice made my freezer smell of chlorine, though, and didn't taste good. Store-bought ice would be best, but since Satsuko kept asking me what I was using it for, I stopped buying it. It might be worth spending time to think about a good excuse for that if it meant I'd be able to enjoy ice without ever again smelling the chlorine. I filled the glass with mineral water, then poured a little bit of another liquid into the glass. Watching the color mix into the transparent water was a very pleasant thing. This wasn't the right way to drink it, but I liked it that way. Didn't want to hear any complaints. I mean, yeah, you're like, what, 12? I'm not surprised you don't like to drink wine straight. I'm a grown-ass man, I don't fucking like drinking wine. I wonder a 12-year-old would be like, ugh, no, this needs to be watered down. I need ice and also extra water. My body is very convenient because I can get drunk with only a tiny amount. That's why I dilute that small amount with a full glass of water. And thanks to that, I can enjoy a single bottle for a long time. It wasn't bad if you thought about it like that. I put a cushion on my favorite spot by the window. With the glass in one hand, I enjoyed the familiar view and the soft wind brushing through my hair. A slightly sweet, ripened aroma tickled my nose. And just when I was about to start enjoying the atmosphere, the annoying one came back. She didn't like this bad habit of mine. She complained every time I tilted the glass. She started nagging me noisily.
うるさいな。少しくらい我慢なさい。
ダメなのです。その飲み物はあなたにはまだ早いのです。
That's not Satoko. I tried to ignore her, but she started making a fuss, as if trying to ruin the atmosphere on purpose. There was no way I could enjoy getting drunk like this. I glared at her and threw the drink out the window.
なんで私が憂鬱か知りたい？私の死に方が決まったからよ。
It seemed like she finally understood why I wanted to drown myself in alcohol.
そんなに落ち込まなくてもいいのよ。割と一瞬で死ねるから、そんなに怖くないわ。
My body will be burned and cut in pieces, but I'll be able to die instantly.
でもまた。
そうね。またダメね。これだと
6月の25日の夜だと思い。
綿流しの祭りが終わってからだいたい1週間。
やっぱり
決まってるでしょ。あんた自覚ないの？
はうはう。
She was the one who asked me, yet she cried when I told her she was right. Ah, jeez, she's always so annoying. Okay, so she doesn't have an issue with Satoko then. She and Satoko are cool, but there's a third? There's another child?
頑張りましょう。次のすごろくではきっと6が立て続けに出てくれることもあるわよ。
June 25th. I still had 10 more days. I was going to relax and enjoy those 10 days. I still had some wine left too. Interesting. So I know just off of like the desktop icons that there is a character I have yet to see that is one of these desktop icons. I can only assume that's this mysterious girl. Cause no, I can't even. Damn it, I can't minimize. Actually, I can open up Steam. Yeah. If I open up Steam real quick, go to library. I believe it's like for chapter 7. I'm pretty sure chapter 8 has Takano as the desktop icon. Chapter 7. Yeah, chapter 7. I can't see it well from the fucking Steam overlay, but yeah, it's like a kind of a purple hair, like a very light purple haired colored girl. She appears younger. I can only assume that's who that is, but I don't know. Because I kind of have been wondering that because I've had like, because obviously I have all 8 chapters downloaded already, so I see like all the desktop icons and I'm able to like point out who all the characters are now, right? I did know about Shion beforehand, so I'm like, okay, there's Reina, there's Mion, there's Shion, there's Satoko, there's Rika, there's Takano, and I'm like, but then there's this one, right? I'm now like what 5.5 chapters deep, and I'm like, there's still this one. I don't know this one, and like clearly they'll still introduce characters this late in the game. Like, sure, it's definitely not the first time they've done something like that, but it's like this one. Clear that this character has to have some level of importance, though, if they're being used as a desktop icon, right? Because, like, yeah, they'll introduce someone new, like Rena, in this chapter to give further backstory on something else, but, like, she's not, like, someone super important that they're gonna, like, kind of prop up as, like, the face of a chapter or anything. Very interesting. It had been very hot for the past few days, and the corpses went rotten quickly. Any housewife knows how fast fresh meat can go bad. I know it too. That's why the first thing I did was to dismember the corpses. There was only one reason why I needed to dismember them. I had to reduce them to a portable size in order to carry them to a place where they'll never be found. The swamp. When men see the words dismembered corpses, they'll probably feel disgusted because they don't cook. That's not why I'd feel disgusted by. Like, I've definitely. Like, I haven't, like, chopped up a fucking. I haven't, like, butchered an animal on my own, but, like, I've cooked meat before. Like, I've seen people, like, butcher certain kinds of meats and whatnot. Like, I've seen it happen. Seeing a human body, like, we get this. I feel disgusted because it's a human, right? Like, yeah, no, I've seen, chopped up beef. I've seen chopped up poultry. I know what the corpse of a bird looks like. I know what, like, the corpse of a cow looks like, the corpse of a pig. I've seen these things. Like, I've been in butcher shops before. I know what they look like. But still, when I hear dismembered corpses, I don't feel disgusted because I've never cooked. I feel disgusted because, like, oh, that's a human body. Someone did that to a human. Ugh. It's like, I mean, I guess it's less disgust and more like a bigger sense of, like, terror. Because, like, oh, another human did that to another human. That's fucked up. The housewives are used to taking the guts out of fish, and they sometimes even see living maggots. I've seen maggots too. Like, it's still gross. Even if you're used to it, it's still gross. Like, yeah, I've seen roadkill and seen, like, fucking maggots and shit fucking crawling out of the corpses of these fucking mangled fucking creatures, but it's like, just because I'm used to seeing that, I'm not like, oh, that's not too bad. I'm like, ew. I'll still look at it and be like, ew, that's gross. They take the maggots off the food or even cook it with the maggots still on. Ew. The heat will kill them after all. Women don't tell men what they do in the kitchen because men wouldn't eat the food if they knew. So it didn't really bother me much to dismember them. I was released from all my problems by killing them. Cleaning up the mess was like nothing to me because I got freedom and regained my happiness. I dismembered the corpses using carpenter's tools like a saw and a hatchet. And your father didn't ask any questions. That's the kind of like that should have been like a tip scene, like the fucking conversation after Reina got home that night. Cause what, your father's just gonna accept the fact that you did that? Like, what are we doing here? There's no fucking way in hell homeboy's just like, oh, yeah. Okay. Not gonna ask any questions. Like, yeah, you got the guy out of the house, so I'm not gonna ask questions. Like, are you out of your fucking mind? I'm wearing a black sweatsuit I bought for today because I thought I might get stained with blood. Bloodstains don't show on black fabric. I can just throw it away after it's done. I brought a plastic sheet I found in the dump because I thought the blood might spread otherwise. If I did the work on this sheet, I could just burn it after I was done. In the end, dismembering human bodies is no different from preparing food on a chopping board. I was very tired from chopping apart two adult bodies, but I didn't have a problem doing it. I cut off their arms, legs, and heads, dividing each body into 6 pieces. I heard before that blades get easily ruined by fat when you cut apart a corpse, so I brought many kinds of tools. And I was right. I didn't have to go back and forth between here and my house to get another tool in the middle of work. A long time ago, the construction manager was murdered and his body was dismembered here during the dam conflict. He was cut into 6 pieces in the same way. Well, I had 2 bodies, so there was double that, though. I remember the main suspect was still on the loose and the victim's arm he hid hadn't been found yet. Wonder where he hid it. I'd like to ask him. I smiled wryly. Unlike the arms, legs, and heads, the torsos were difficult to take care of. I thought about cutting them into smaller pieces, but I decided against it because I thought it'd be troublesome to clean up the guts. Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. I'm like you could try, but like there's a lot in those torsos. That's definitely gonna make a much bigger mess. I put each piece in a black trash bag and sprayed on a lot of deodorant. I wasn't sure it would help against the smell, though. No. Many bugs flew around me while I was dismembering the corpses. After I finished putting all the pieces into each bag, the bugs still flying around, but that was just because they could smell the blood. After I cleaned up everything, they were all gone. Now all I need to do is get rid of these 12 black bags. Burning them would be easiest, but I don't think I can burn them to ashes without using a cremator. Best way is to bury them somewhere. Other than the torsos, every piece is small enough to fit in my backpack. I could easily carry them without being noticed. I could throw them into the river, running through the damn construction site. If I did that, somebody would find them for sure. I've seen on the news several times before that a bag with a body part in it was found beside a river. Every time I heard something like that, I always thought the murderer was stupid. I thought about dumping them into Onagabuchi Swamp, but rotten meat floats. Oh. I didn't know that. Why not weigh the bags down then? Well, I guess if the bag breaks. Thought about weighting the bags. There's no guarantee they'd stay down. Well, alright. I see you're 2 steps ahead of me. I'll shut up then. Still left me with one choice. To bury them. There are many unexplored mountains at the end of the abandoned districts around Yagochi and Takatsuto. It's probably best to bury them somewhere in the mountains. While it would be safe to bury them here in the garbage dump too, it's not perfectly safe. And so I'm going to bury all these bags somewhere deep inside of a mountain in order to completely erase the 2 of them. My joints hurt since I've been using muscles I don't normally use. I cleaned up the mess very carefully and got into my hideout. While still wearing the sweatsuit, I lay down on the mattress. I washed my hands carefully, but there was still dirt and blood under my nails. I should take a shower later and wash it off completely. When I say things like disposing of corpses, it sounds like I'm the greatest evil of the century. Not really. That's only true if I get caught. What I did isn't a crime as long as I don't get caught. Plus, I didn't do this because I wanted to commit a crime. Well, so that's the thing. What you did with Rena, I mean, technically that is still a crime, but it's a defensible one. Like the excuse of self-defense, to where you shouldn't be punished as severely for it. But what you did with Tepe, like, sure, he also committed a crime, and like I said, if you would have defended yourself in the moment, that's a lot more defensible, but I didn't do anything wrong. Debatable. Yeah, like, I wouldn't say you necessarily did anything wrong, but I don't think you necessarily did the right thing. Also, are we just totally dropping that plot point with Kasai? Or is that still yet to come up? I did this to protect my father's life and mine. People might speak ill of me, but I don't care about them. In the end, I don't think anybody can really pass judgment on my sins. Sins aren't something to pass judgment on. They're something to confess and to atone for. In other words, nobody can measure the weight of a sin other than the person who committed the crime. Do I regret what I did? Do I feel sorry? No. I don't think I did anything wrong. I truly believe there's no better way than killing them. I'm sure it was the right thing, because my life has already started to change since the night I killed them. A few days earlier, I just came home after killing Tepe. My father was cleaning the room Tepe had trashed earlier. His eyes were swollen. He'd been crying.
レーナ。
あの男と、もうリナさんは二度とだからあなたも来ないで、だから。あいつはもう来ないよ。
And he believed that. Well, I think your dad's just so torn up after everything that happened. He's just like, okay, yeah, sure. But like that, you know that's some of the biggest bullshit you could spew.
そんなのでおとなしくしてくれるやつじゃないぞ。
Yeah, exactly.
レイナもしばらくは用心した方がいい。
It's hard to explain to him why Tepe would never come back. Yeah. Can't tell him he shouldn't worry because I killed him. Right, so you're just gonna be like, you're right, Pops. I'll make sure to keep an eye out. I grabbed ice cubes from the freezer, put them in a plastic bag, and handed it to my
お
father.
父さん、ほっぺた、すごい腫れてるよ。
He must have only noticed it just then.
ああ、ありがとう。
私が片付けるからいいよ。掃除機持ってくるね。
レイナ。
He called out to me.
お父さんが悪かった。ごめんな。
仕方ないよ。あいつらは騙すのがなりわ。だから、お父さんは騙されただけだよ。
レイナは、あいつらがそう。
うん。言っても信じてくれないと思って。ごめんね。
He looked down. When he told me about how he wanted to get remarried, I told him that they were bad people and that they scammed others with Badger games. But he didn't listen to me. So I was right in saying that he wouldn't have believed me at all.
お父さんは、母さんとの離婚で落ち込んでいるところを付け入られたんだよ。
お父さんは、本当にダメなお父さんだよな。
No. Honestly, I wouldn't go that far. You weren't able to see, you know, they were very much putting up an act to make you like them, right? And from what you could tell, they seemed to be getting along just fine with your daughter, right? Sure, your daughter liked to hide off and go to her hideout every now and again, but like, it wasn't like she was displaying anything outwardly that would make you think, oh wow, there's something wrong here. There's like some actual. Whereas what he could probably tell is like, oh, Reina doesn't like being around her all that much. I mean, that's not necessarily something you chalk up to being a bad father. Like, oh, you were dating someone that your kid didn't like being around as much, especially when you consider that, you know, she's a child who, you know, loved both her parents dearly and then also had to deal with a very, you know, harrowing divorce and whatnot. So obviously you kind of like, I can't really blame him too much for trying to think like, oh, she's just because of the divorce, right? Because at that point, she's not like displaying anything that would make you think there's any like genuine hatred there, that there's some reason that he should be wary of Rina. Because that's the thing, even Reina herself, she didn't like Rina, but until she overhears the conversation at the coffee house, she doesn't like truly despise Rina, right? She doesn't have a reason to truly fucking hate her guts like that. So, no. Like, I will say you're dumb. Like, actually, you could make the argument of being a bad father in the fact that you were blowing the fucking money for you and your kid on all these luxurious expenses for some woman. Like, regardless of how you felt about the woman, like, that money's there to support you and your kid, like, and you're just blowing it all. That reflects poorly, but That one I just try to chalk up to being fucking dumb and just really desperate for pussy. And he started talking about how he met Rina as if trying to absolve his guilt. It was when he was suffering the most and he needed to drink away his sorrow. Oh yeah, that's the perfect place to fucking snag him. At a bar he happened to go into, Rina-san was the one who came to his table. It was her job to be a good listener when her customers talked. Rina must really have been a great listener, not for words of comfort when he talked about the divorce. If he was emotionally stable, he could have taken it as a kindness that she was only offering at the time. But he was so desperate that he took it the wrong way. After that, the tragedy was inevitable. He wanted to believe that it was destiny, and he glamorized everything about her. It would be easy to laugh at him and say that he was just dreaming. But I don't blame him, because being weak is also part of being human. And see, that's what I'm saying, like, you can't really put the blame all on him just because he was desperate. Like, he was at essentially the lowest point in his life he's ever been. And, you know, someone was there showing him some kindness. And he didn't have the emotional stability to recognize the true intent of that kindness. He had plenty of opportunities to grow suspicious of her questionable spending habits, and see, that's the thing. That's where I'm like, he kind of fucked up. Because all these egregious spending habits, for someone who you're just kind of dating, for someone you've known even less than a year, too, right? Or like just about a year, right? Because they met like what, shortly after he moved to Hinamizawa, from what I understand. She's been around for like just under a year. She's been a part of, you know, their lives. I feel like if you're blowing that much on someone you've hardly even known for a year, and all this talk about getting remarried, that's when you're too blinded by the fucking, you know, affection you're receiving to actually see the reality of what's happening around you. But my father just read even that behavior as an attempt to cheer him up. That's the thing. If it was an attempt to cheer him up, she wouldn't be spending his money. But sure, yeah, whatever. He was that one. No, yeah, that's if that's how the father was reading it. Like, oh, she's spending my money, but she's doing it to try to cheer me up. It's like, if she wanted to cheer you up, I take something of lesser value that she spends her own money on. That's how you cheer someone up. Oh yeah, take me to fucking Tokyo Disneyland, baby. That'll cheer you up. If you take me and spend your own money and take me to fucking Tokyo Disneyland, yeah, spend big money. Rather than her going, hey, I'm spending my money. Let's just go grab a bite to eat at a nice restaurant, huh? Not a high-end expensive spot, but like, you know, somewhere that's nice. I'll spend my money. I'll pay for the date. That's how you cheer someone up. That's when you know, like, okay, they ain't just trying to fuck you over for your money. They're putting their own money on the table. Then it's like, okay, that's how you cheer someone up. You put in your own effort, your own resources into making something happen. He bought everything she asked him to, and Rina had landed her catch. He shouldn't have brought his lover to the house where his daughter lived. True. Well, that's the thing. If he's so desperate that the thought of, you know, remarrying is on his mind, of course he'd want his potential, you know, new wife to get to know his daughter. So I don't know how quickly he ended up bringing Rina to the house. But he was crazy about her and didn't even think about it. Because, yeah, if it's at a point where she's, like, just someone he's looking at simply as a girlfriend, like, at that point, yeah, maybe, you know, maybe you, like, introduce her and be like, hey, this is the girl I'm seeing. But, like, to bring her into your house is definitely some crazy work.
お父さんは本当にどうかしてた。
He started crying. I held his shoulders
い
gently.
いよ。お父さんがそれに気づいてくれたなら、私には一人しかいない。最後の肉親なんだから。
He couldn't stop moaning. We held each other and cried together. The next day, my father got up early in the morning. He was already cooking breakfast when I got up. And he told me,
お父さんは今日からしっかりする。
でもお父さん、 目玉焼きを焼く前にサラダオイルは敷いた方がいいと思う。
久しぶりの台所なんで。
He pried off the burning eggs on the pan with a spatula, and he added salad oil to it. It was too late. Doing that just made it an even bigger mess. But I didn't say anything because I wanted to eat his eggs. I waited at the table quietly. He put the burnt eggs on a plate and brought them over to me. Looked like he tried to salvage them by adding cheese, but it didn't really work. Still, it smelled good and crispy. It actually stimulated my appetite. Thick cut toast popped out of the toaster. I made coffee with extra milk and sugar because my father liked it sweet. We put everything on the table. It looked terrible, like the cooking class of an elementary school. But to me it was precious, because my father tried very hard to make it, wearing the apron.
匂いだけなら美味しそうだよ。あとは味だね。
やっぱり食事はレーナがこれじゃかえって悪い気がする。
お父さんが仕事で忙しくなったら、また私が代わるよ。
It had been a taboo to talk about work in our house. He hadn't worked since the divorce. It wasn't only because of the divorce, though. He just didn't have to work because the settlement my mother gave him was so huge. Plus, I let him be lazy because I felt guilty about the divorce. But my father cleared his wrongdoing by showing repentance to me. And I also atoned for my sin of not doing anything about my mother by doing what I did the previous night. Now we are free of sin.
お父さん、仕事を探してみるよ。今日は職案に行ってこようと思う。
それはいいね。
It's not money that he wanted. He just needed a normal lifestyle.
こんな年で体力もないからな。
どんな仕事ならいい？
事務の仕事がいいけど、この年じゃなかなか雇ってもらえん。
私の友達に聞いてみるよ。みーちゃんはこの辺りの大地主のお嬢さんだから、ひょっとすると紹介してくれるかもしれん。
いいよいいよ。仕事くらい自分で探すよ。
Yeah, you gotta let him get his confidence back. Let him land a job on his own. I appreciate you wanting to help out Pops, but like that's how he's gonna get his confidence back. Even if it's the job he's not quite happy to have, at least he got it on his own. He needs that confidence boost.
その程度にはしっかりしないとな。
Yeah. I don't remember the last time we enjoyed breakfast like this. I don't even remember the last time we had breakfast together. For the first time in a long time, the morning light felt refreshing. I wanted to keep enjoying life like this. But unfortunately, I had to go to school. I told him that I'd skip school that day and that I wanted him to take me somewhere fun. But he tried to be a good father and said that I had to go to school.
じゃあ、私学校行くね。
ああ、行ってらっしゃい。
He followed me to the front door. I was a bit embarrassed for some reason. He talked to me while I was tying on my shoes. He followed me here, not because he wanted to see me off, but because he wanted to tell me something.
お父さんは、母さん、でもお父さんは、レイナと一緒だから寂しくなんかない。そうだ。最初から寂しがることなんか。
お父さん、それを家族って言うんじゃないかな。
そうだな。そんなことを娘に教わるようじゃダメだな。
じゃあ、ケイチ君を待たせてるから。
いってらっしゃい。ああ、そうだ。今日はお父さんが食案に行くついでに買い物をしてくる。朝食みたいな失敗はしないから楽しみにしてるんだぞ。
Oh god, is something gonna happen to the dad?
楽しみにしてるよ。行ってきます。
I left the house. My father saw me off, still in the apron. It was the first step of our new life. I finally regained it. Finally regained everything we lost after we left Hinamizawa. My mother wasn't around, but I didn't feel sad because I had my father. The cries of the cicadas sounded as if they were celebrating my new life. The sunshine was bright and the wind was sending up a nice breeze. The only thing that wasn't nice was the ticking clock. I was late because I spent too much time talking with my father. Keiichi-kun might already be gone. I don't think he'd be waiting for me that long. Yes, he would. But he was there anyway.
よおはよ
おはよう。遅れてごめんね。
う。いいってことよ。普段は俺がレナを待た、たまには俺を待たさせろ。
ずいぶん遅くなっちゃった。早足で行った方がいいかな。
そうだな。チャキチャキ行こうぜ。さもないと走る羽目にな。
みーちゃん、さすがに先に行っちゃってるかな。
待ってるだろう、絶対。俺たちは仲間だぜ。絶対に見捨てないし、勝手に行っちゃったりはしないよ。それはそうと、今日は朝からいいことでも。
どうしてかな。
いやさ、今朝のレナは普段にも増して上機嫌そうだったからさ。
Fuck, the scene feels familiar. Is Is this something from chapter 1? Fuck, maybe.
特別なことでもあったのかなって。
The good mood I was in must have been too obvious for Keiichi-kun to ignore. I had not only my family, but my friends too. Felt something warm spreading in my heart.
それがね、聞いて聞いて。朝食をお父さんが作ってくれ。
なんだよ。目玉焼きはサラダオイルってのはサラダに使うもんなんだろ？
Salad oil goes on salads.
へえ。みーちゃんたちに教えてあげようっと。
Do you also put vegetable oil on your vegetables?
なんですって？それは許しがたい暴言でございましてよ。
おお、上等だぜ。そこまで言うからには直接対決も辞さない覚悟だろうな。
おおおお、盛り上がってるじゃない。なんなら今日の部活さ、さとことけいちゃんで外馬行こうか。
みーちゃん。
ああ、外馬ってのはつまり俺とさとこだけで部活の順位がそのまま勝敗になって、負けた方は俺たちだけのペナルティーを課す。
つまりどっちが勝っても負けても僕はとっても
That
楽し
means I
いの
get
で
to
す。
see at least one of you suffer. Oh, Rika.
どうするさとこ。
素敵な勝負でございますことよ。部活にビリで罰ゲームな上に、さらに私に負けてダブルで罰ゲームなんて、こんな素敵なことがございまして。
よーしさとこ、よく受けたね。よっしゃ、今日の部活は2人の外馬付きでやろう。
部活の種目より罰ゲームを何にするか考える方が楽しいのですよ。
確かに楽しいよな。さとこがどんな悲惨な目に遭うか今から想像できちまうぜ。
それはケイチさんのことでございまして。むにーやりましたわね。むにゅー。
ほらほら、2人とも勝負はまだ始まってないって。
Jay Sensei opened the door and came in.
皆さんお待たせしま。それでは帰りのホームルームを始めますよ。
Everybody headed to their seats.
みーちゃん。
何？
ケイチくんとさとこごめんね。ちょっと今日も用事があってすぐ帰ら。
そうなの？もう用事じゃお家の仕事？
うん。
家事ってんじゃおじさんは口出しできないな。うちはお手伝いさんに全部任せっきりだからね。
たまにはみーちゃんも家事手伝いとかすればいいのに。きっと花嫁修行になるよ。
ご安心を。万事その手のスキルに関してはつつがなく習得済みですので。
Oh, don't worry, Rita. I got the skills to be a good wife. Wink, wink. Mi-chan looks like the kind of girl who tries to stay away from chores as much as possible, but she can actually do everything. That's just who she is. She went through hard times to learn those things, but she acts like she learned them without any struggle. That's also who she is. I like that about her.
帰っちゃうのかよ。
あら、ケイチさんが恥ずかしい格好で職員室にお伺いしなくちゃならないところをご覧になりませんの？見物なのに残念なのです。ごめんね。
昨日も家の用事だったじゃねえかよ。何かあったのか？
もう何日かかかるかもしれない。
じゃあ当分。
かもしれん。なるべく早く復帰できるように頑張る。
その用事は俺たちには手伝えることか？例えば古い家具を応援に行くぜ。
家の模様替えとかおじさんたちみんなで手伝うよ。
Ooh. Uh-oh. Like, oh yeah, no, if it's just housework, yeah, we can help. Oh yeah, no, we can pitch it to help. We're all friends here. We'll pitch it to help. This way we can get it all done right away. We go back to club activities as usual. Yeah, no, just let us help. We'll help. Actually, no.
レナさんの家のお手伝いで優劣起きそうのもありですわよね。多分お手伝いしない方が優勝なのです。気持ちだけもらっておくね。
じゃあ仕方ない。竜宮レナを本日付で我が部より戦線離脱とする。お家の仕事が片付くまで休暇とするので、英気回復の上再び戦線へ復帰することをここに命ずる。まあ4人なら4人で。そうだ、ケイちゃんは麻雀とかできる？
おう、親父の仕事関係の人たちの宅に無理や。
もちろん私たちは麻雀だって精通していましてよ。
After that, they fooled around and made a lot of noise just like they always did. I looked at them and reminded myself I'd always have a place to return to. I left the classroom with a smile. I was going to Yagochi on my bicycle. I had to find a place to bury the bags with the body parts. Hopefully I could finish burying all of them today before it gets dark. With that, everything would be over and done with.
パイの背中が竹だってのがなんだか怖いよな。まさかガンパイってことはないだろうな。
Is it something about the fucking classroom specifically? I swear that text looks green. What the fuck ever.
さーて、圭一さんには以前のジジ抜きの時に手痛い思い出がございますものね。
まあ多少は傷もあるだろうね。安物のパイだしさ。そのくらいの要素がないと我が部らしくないでしょ。ヒヒヒヒヒ。
みー、赤は何枚混ぜるの？6つ？
Ikuchan sounded professional and it scared me. Oh well. I should start by checking the tiles. Playing mahjong with my family is different from playing it as a club activity. I have to be cautious. It's possible that one tile is missing or that there's one extra of a particular tile in here.
そんなことしないって。でも着想は面白いね。そういう手も。なるほどなるほど。
よしよし、パイをみんな表にして。ほれほれほれ。
Everybody flip the tiles face up.
あれ、おい、誰かのとこに。
ピンズとソースの6が1個ずつ足りないですわね。あら、マンズの6も1個足りませんで。
なんだなんだ、随分と足りないじゃないか。
ああ、そうだったそうだった。ちょいと待って。
Mion hit the palm of her hand with her fist, moved her chair aside, and stuck her finger into a gap in the floorboards. She then pulled a tile out of there.
はいよ。まずはチュンね。あとの3つはどこだ。
おい待て、どうして麻雀のパイが教室
にゃはは。まあまあ。
にゃはは。Love that laugh. She must have hidden the other 3 tiles somewhere in the classroom and forgot where. We couldn't play mahjong with 3 tiles missing. I was just playing another game, but Mion insisted that we had to find them. It's just making that the treasure hunt our game.
まあ、確かに圭一さんと勝負をつけるなら、もうちょっとまともな種目がいいですわね。
同感だな。それに、この教室に本当にあるかも怪しいんだろ。
多分あると思うんだよ。あるいはおじさんが懐にしまったまま帰っちゃって洗濯機の脇に置いてあるとかかな。
今度からミーと麻雀をやるときは終わった後にも牌の数を調べた方がいいと思いますです。
Everybody except Mion nodded in agreement.
なーに、教室宝探し対決じゃ。
つうか、ミオンのイカ様の後し、お前の責任で部活を私的に使うな。
ブーブー。じゃあどうする？麻雀は無理だし、他のにする？である人。
As our club president, Mion usually decides what we'll play. Couldn't just come up with something on the spot. While we're all thinking, Mion hit her palm with her fist just like she did earlier.
じゃあさみんな、パイの宝探しがいい。もうちょっとで宝探しといえばレナのお家芸。
Oh fuck. Oh shit. Reina says she's doing housework, but she's moving the fucking bags from the goddamn garbage dump. Either they're gonna run into her there, or they're gonna be fucking digging around the dump while she's gone and fucking stumble onto the fucking fridge full of fucking body parts. Well, even if they don't realize they're body parts, the first just like, oh, they're gonna be like, oh, what are these black bags? I wonder what's in here. Oh god. Oh fuck.
ってことは、ダム現場のゴミ山か。
Yeah. I hear that music slowly creeping up.
あそこってあんまり行ったことないんですけど、結構広い。あそこはバラバラ殺人の幽霊が出るから近寄らない方がいいらしいのですよ。
幽霊上等じゃないの。そのくらいの演出つかないと宝の山としてはインパクト弱いよね。
へえ、そんな噂あるのかよ。確かバラバラ殺人があって主犯が未だ逃走中。そいつの隠した腕一本が
その腕を探してバラバラにされた監督さんが幽霊になってさまよっているという噂があるのです。
And now they're gonna go digging and find more fucking limbs. Oh my god.
あらあら、幽霊が嫌いな。いいお年にもなって。僕は巫女ですから、見たくなくても見えてしまうので。
うわ、確かに見える人には当たり前のように幽霊が見えるって話。
バカバカしいで。リカと一緒にずっと住んでますけど、そんなのいつでも見た。サトコに見えてないだけなのですよ。サトコがお布団で寝てるときはいつもニパー。リカ、そこで笑って私が寝てるときは何なんですの？
Satoko, I feel sorry for you. You can pretend you're not scared of ghosts during the day, but I'm pretty sure you get scared when it gets dark. I'm gonna have to make a silent phone call tonight just to scare the hell out of her.
まあ私も含めてなんだけど、レナくらいだよ。
レナのカーイーモードの前に幽霊が出た日にゃ日が。
確かにありそうですわね。はう、お持ち帰りって。
It was so easy to imagine that all of us laughed.
じゃあ決まり。今日はゴミ山探検にしよう。幽霊を見つけられたら優勝。
Oh god.
辞典は隠された右腕。
And someone's actually gonna
その
find a
次
fucking
は
arm.
じゃあレナが気に入りそうな何かだね。レナに見せて白黒をつけてもらうってことでどうよ。
私は優勝で、ケイチさんはビリで、ダブル罰ゲームが
おいおい、サトコいいのかよ。優勝ってことは幽霊。
ちょっとやめてください。暑苦しいですわ。僕もお化けが怖いので行きたくな。もうとは何ですの？
What do you mean, two?
もうとは私はゲイチさん、お話遊ぶ。
では行くよ、諸君。出撃準備。
Oh dear god. And it'll be over with. Everything will be over and done with. Yes, it'll be over when the Higurashi cry. Roll credits. Yeah? Yeah? I think that's the biggest question. Is Reina gonna be there when they get there?
これで全部かな。
It is. Okay. So they caught Reina there when she said she was going to be doing housework. The question is, did they find the body parts or not? Reina finished making her confession. There was no applause or curtain call. It was a quiet and lonely stage that Reina performed on alone. I think I'd forgotten to blink since her confession started. Everybody else seemed to be feeling the same way. Reina looked at us, like she was a teacher waiting for questions from her students. Damn, but we haven't even hit the Watanagashi yet. We noticed that she was imitating what Chie-sensei does at the end of class, and we all smiled bitterly.
さっきまでね、袋を埋める場所を探しに、絶対見つからない場所に隠そうと思うと、自分の家の庭に埋める方が、でもそれじゃあやっぱり危ないよね。お父さんが突然家庭菜園をやりたいなんて、やっぱり遠くのあの女を、たとえ死んだ後でもお父さんに近づけたくなかったし。
Felt like I did something very bad. Reina's plan was going smoothly. If I'd only hunted for the mahjong tiles instead of insisting on doing something else, this wouldn't have happened. When I looked at the others, they all seemed to be regretting their actions too. If Mion hadn't come up with the idea to play at the garbage dump, if Satoko hadn't found the broken refrigerator, if Rika-chan had convinced us not to go, Reina could have had a few more days. She could have gotten rid of these trash bags. They never would have been found. Then what would have happened next? Nothing. Everything would have remained the same. We could have kept having happy and peaceful days. Rain had been through a hard time, but she'd been forcing her face into a smile for us. The fake smile was supposed to become a real smile one day. None of us were supposed to notice that Reina was going through a hard time. After a while, Reina was supposed to be able to forget the bitter memory of killing these two. She was supposed to live as if nothing had happened. But now, all of her effort, all her courage, had been ruined.
人殺しはいけないことだ。したくなんかなかったし、これからだってもね、これが最善の努力だったって信じてるし、私は幸せで平穏な生活を取り戻すために 神様から与えられた等しいチャンスの中で最大限に努力しただけ。製品であれば不幸せでもいいなんてのは満たされた人間の綺麗事だよ。その精一杯は世界中の誰にだってけなせない。むしろ私を褒めてほしいくらい。
Okay, I don't know about that one.
称えてほしいくらい。竜宮レナは自らの運命とそして打ち勝った。
I don't know why I did it, but I interrupted her. I shouldn't have. I thought I needed to tell her this, so I did.
でもレナ、どうして俺たちに相談してく。
相談？
そうだよ。俺たちは仲間ってのは何があっても俺たちに相談してくれれば、そうすればレナは自分の手を汚さずに済んだかもしれない。
Ooh. Yeah, I don't know if that was quite the right thing to say. What Reina told us made me sad. Couldn't help myself from saying that to her. Reina told us straight that she did the best she could. She told us that right to our faces. Yeah, and then she's gonna snap and be like, okay, what could you have done to help? What could you have done to make things turn out differently? How could you have helped me, right? She's gonna like really get up in his face like that. That's the same thing as saying that she didn't need us in order to do the best she could.
ケイちゃん、
いや、頼む。言わせてくれ。
No, I think Mio's got a
喜
point
びだ
here.
って苦しみだって。だからレナが相談してくれたらきっと今よりもより良い未来へたどり着けていたと信じてる。
Yeah, those are nice words. Back it up. What could you have done differently? That's what I'm gonna need you to do here, bud. Because that's big talk, right? Oh, friends should be there, and through the good times and the bad times. We could have been there for you. What could y'all have done to do things differently? Like, sure, you could have, told Mion what was going on. Maybe she gets more urgent in getting Kasai involved, but there's no guarantee he's gonna actually help, right? Even if Mion's like, no, you gotta help, like, he's still got his own responsibilities, right? But like, and then beyond that, what's the move? What's the actual move in that then? Okay, she tells her friends everything that's going on, everything she's dealing with. What's like, sure, you can be there to offer nice words and whatnot, be like, oh damn, Raina, it sucks you're going through that, but don't worry, we've all got your back here. No matter what happens, we're here for you, girl. That's all great and whatnot, but I don't think telling anyone what happened doesn't, if it is, at least as far as Rina goes, right? I don't think the homies could have done anything differently to derail what happened with Rina. Because eventually Rina, went out of her way to track down Reina, and Reina lured her and eventually put hands on Reina, tried to kill Reina, and Reina fought back. I don't think telling her friends would have changed anything else. Believe me, I understand the sentiment. But unless you're saying that you're gonna fucking pitch in with burying the bodies, then I really don't see how much else you could have done differently. It's big talk, but what do you got to back it up?
今よりそんなのないよ。
That's also, yeah, another bold claim. Could have led you to a better future. Okay, what would have made it better? Cause like when she gives her father excuse of like what happened to Tepe, she said, I told him Rina's not coming around here, you don't have to worry about it. And her father's like, well, Tepe is probably not gonna accept that too easily, so like, be wary. So like, if Tepe and Rina were still alive, even if they had fucked off and left, the Ryugyus alone, there's still a presence in Okonomiya that's still like a threat looming over them. Is that truly a better future for Reina?
これが最善の未来だよ。
嘘だな。
My shout seemed to scare her a little. I knew that Reina didn't believe that this was the best possible future. She just didn't have any other choice. If she'd had other choices, she definitely would have chosen this one. What other choice, though? Back up your statements, Keiichi. Because yes, a better future would be one where she doesn't have to deal with Rina and Tepe, but also doesn't have to, crossed the line of murder. That is a better future, sure. What choices could you and the gang have opened up for her? You're talking all this talk, right? But you're not backing shit up. You're just throwing words out there. If you had choices, things would have been different. Like, okay, what were the choices? Well, you could have told us about what happened. Okay, what choices does that offer me? What does that actually open up?
だってその証拠にレナは
はあ？誰が？私がいつ涙を。
今だよ。ずっと流してるじゃん。自分で分かってないのか？
In fact, I didn't see any tears in her eyes or on her face at all. That didn't mean she wasn't crying. Reina was crying. She was crying because she was driven into a corner after all the hard work she did to become happy. Her tears looked so sad. Anyone who couldn't see those tears wasn't really thinking about her.
私は正しいことをした。それでどうして泣かなくちゃ。ケイチのバカバカ。何を言ってるか全然わかんないや。
それが泣いてるって言ってんだよ。
Reina stopped laughing all of a sudden. She spoke with a cold expression on her face.
じゃあいいよ。ケイチ君の言った通り、私がみんなにお父さんとあの女のことを打ち明けた。
Yep, hit him with it, Reina.
さあ、どうしてくれるの？
Yep. Come on, Keiichi. You talk all that talk, back it up.
まずは、
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Classic Keiichi. Loves to talk that talk, but the moment anyone calls him out on his shit, it's like, That's, and it's always Reina, too. If there's anyone who will call Keiichi out on his shit, it's Reina. That's what I love about her. I love it. Pretty much anytime I have a gripe with something, if Reina's in the scene, she will fucking acknowledge that gripe I have and be like, oh yeah? Oh yeah? Like when like Satoko had her like meltdown in chapter 3 and Keiichi's like constantly keeps trying to like fucking touch her head even though it's clear that's doing something. And then like he keeps trying to like shout at her and like talk to her and whatnot. And Reina's just like, hey, could you shut the fuck up? Like, so I love about you, Reina. Love it. I still don't think, like, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean I condone everything you did, but goddamn, I love when you do that shit. I love it.
まずは何？
Yeah. Go on. Reina never talked to me like this before. Well, that's because you've never talked to her like this before. All of a sudden, you keep shouting like you got a pair, but you ain't got no nuts to back it up. It was as if she was mocking my ignorance, and that made me shut my mouth. She is mocking your ignorance. That's exactly what she's doing. You're talking some dumb shit, and she's like, alright, fucking back it up. And you're like, and now you're realizing, oh shit, I ain't got no nuts to bark with. Alright.
ケイチ君は去年を知らないんだよ。
去年？
そう、去年。昭和57年6月。
Oh.
私と同じように、人を殺めることでしか抜けられない、不幸の迷宮に閉じ込められた人のお話を。
That's dangerous territory to talk about. How you feeling about that one, Satoko? Satoko gasped, yeah.
ケイチ君は、北条聡君のことは。
I know that he's Satoko's older brother. He's been missing, but people say he transferred. There's rumor that he killed his aunt for Satoko's sake. Therefore, it's been taboo to talk about Satoshi in my class. Actually, in all of Hinamizawa.
聡君もね、ただ幸せで、妹と静かに暮らせる生活が。ケイチ君も、去年殺された聡子ちゃんのおばさんがどういう人だったかは、噂聞いてるよね。
If what I've heard is true, then this is what happened. After Satoko lost her parents, her uncle and aunt got custody of her and her brother, but they were miserable people. Her aunt was especially cruel to Satoko. Satoshi was the kind of guy who wouldn't even hurt a fly, but his aunt probably was the only one whom he didn't have a problem killing. That's how terrible a person she was.
北条家のトラブルはね、おばさんがヒステリックで、頭のネジのどうかしてることも全部ね。もちろん、クラスの誰もが知っている。御三家の当主後継ぎであるみーちゃんとリカちゃんだってもちろん知ってたし、圭一君の言う仲間たちはひなみ沢の誰よりもよ。それで結果はどうだった？みーちゃんは一番力があるくせに村のしがらみがどうとかよくわからない理由で煙に巻いて、結局そんなことは嘘だ。サトシ君はみーちゃんが 口ぶりだけは同情してるふりをしながらも、だからサトシ君はね、普段は仲間だとか友達だとか言っておきながら、結局は北条家をいじめる園崎家の一味でしかなかったってね。私は別に何も救わずにサトシ君の助けてほしい思いを同情という言葉で拒絶したん。それがどれほどサトシ君を傷つけたか分かってる？
Mion tried to find something to say but failed to do so. She bit her lip
それ
instead.
はリカちゃんも同じだよね。
Now Reina was pointing fingers at Rika-chan. Unlike Mion, Rika-chan looked emotionless and empty, just like Reina did.
リカちゃんは確かにでも神社に出入りしてるお年寄りたちにリカちゃんにもできる努力があったの。リカちゃんも結局はみーちゃん哀れみの表情をするのはサトシ君やサトコちゃんを慰めるだけ。その根本原因に対してそんな無慈悲な哀れみがサトシ君が欲しかったのは誰かに助けて欲しかった。自分の力だけではどうしても抜け出せない苦境だったから。首まで沈もう。そうね。
Rika-chan's voice sounded mature. It was very different from how she usually sounded.
サトシたちを救う方法がわからなかったから、それにかまけ救う何かを探し続けなかった罪。分かってるじゃない。
Reina gave her a twisted smile. The ugliness caused me to look away.
そしてサトコ、あなたに信じられるかわからないけれど、あなたの罪はとても重い。
I understand why she was blaming Satoko. Tried to take her side, but I gasped in surprise when I looked at her. She looked like she was accepting the sin that Reina mentioned. Well, yeah, because Satoko also blames herself for what happened. Satoko must have wanted to confess her sin before Reina pointed it out to her. And so Satoko opened her mouth
信
first.
じてくださるかどうかはわかりませんけど、ちゃんと気づいてますのよ、その罪。そうなんだ。ニーニーがいなくなってしまう。それをどうしてニーニーがいるうちに気づけなかった。わかるよ。後悔した時にはもう遅いというのは。だから私は同じことがもう一度起こったから今度は戦った。サトコちゃんのその罪はその罪に気づけたなら。それでももうニーニーは帰ってきませんのね。
Satoko looked down sadly. Usually Satoko would say the opposite. She always said that Satoshi was coming back one day without a doubt. But now, she accepted the fact that he would never return. She accepted it easily, as if she knew it already, because he's her brother.
ね、
She asked me all of a sudden.
これが私と同じく。サトシ君は自分を助けてくれそうな人たちには助けてほしいと言ったし、辛いとも言った。打ち明けた。そう転校してきたばかりの私。それはみっともないことじゃない。本当に不幸な人はね、サトシ君はそれでもどうにもならないからみんなに助けを求めた。ずっと求めてた。でもね、これが圭一君の言う無条件で味方になってくれる仲間たちの低たらくなんだよ。仲間なんて楽しくてどうでもいい時間を本当に辛い時に、昔からそうだったよ。引っ越し先で。だから私、自分がサトシ君と同じ状況になったと知った時、だってどうせ誰も助けてくれないし助けられないものなら同情なんて気がめいるだけなんだよ。せめて学校にいる間くらい楽しく過ごした方が。実際みんなと楽しく過ごす学校の時間は楽しかったよ。とっても幸せだった。あの女たちとのトラブルをわずかの時間でも忘れることができて、サトシ君もそれに気づけていたらよ。そうだったなら学校での時間くらいは楽しく過ごせて、どうせ自らの手でおばを殴り転校してきたばかりで村のこともほとんど覚えていない私。できるのは話を聞いてあげて、でもそれ以上に助けることができたのかもしれないし。それなのに昭和57年の私は
Aw. Reina's self-derisive laughter changed into grievous sobs. Her tears gradually wore away at our relationship of trust. Nobody will help me. Friends are just people whom you have fun with. You can't trust them. The more Reina cried, the clearer we heard her voice in her heart. Mion, Satoko, and Rika-chan looked into the distance with sad expressions on their faces. I was the only one who could say anything back to her now. I had to tell her this. She knew it too. She just needed to hear it from someone. I braced myself to tell her something that might hurt everybody.
よくわかった。昭和57年のことは。こいつらが白状だったって。でもよ、こいつらはみんな後悔した。だから今度は違う。今度は仲間の苦しみを真に理解し。
去年いなかった人に言われても。
ああ、そうだ。俺は去年いなかった。だから3年。去年の俺がサトシのために絶対に。
嘘だ。
嘘じゃねえ。俺はひなみ沢に来てからどれだけ仲間がかけがえのないものかを知った。だからそんな仲間たちを救うためなら、サトコやサトシをいじめるおばがそんなにもうぜえやつなら、サトシになんかもったいねえ。この俺が叩き殺してやった。
Honestly, homeboy kind of backed that one up. Normally I'm like, Keiichi likes to bark with no nuts, but like, no, I'll give him that one.
ものの1500秒でだ。
Goddamn 1500 seconds. Fuck off with that shit.
躊躇なんかしねえぞ。学校の倉庫あたりから金属バットの一本。
人を殺すのにどれだけの思い。
知らねえし知る必要もねえな。仲間を救う以上の義務がどこにあるってんだ。
圭一君は全然人を殺すことがどれだけ汚らわしい行為で。
そうだな。確かに仲間を救うためでもレナの言い分に相反するようで悪いけど、悪いことに悪いことで立ち向かうってのは多分うまくいかないよ。仲間のためなら人殺しだって厭わない、その精神だけどな。悪いことで得た平穏ってのは絶対に長く続いたりしないんだ。それを人は本能的に知ってるから悪いことを嫌うんじゃないかと思う。
何それ。圭一君が何を口走ってるのかよくわかんないよ。
Shouldn't have to tell me that. I was aware I wasn't making any sense. But, for some reason, I could easily imagine a world like that. A world in which I saved my precious friends by committing an evil act. The peace I seized by doing that evil deed didn't last long. True. It got worse. It ended in a way as terrible as the sin I committed. This was a memory that shouldn't exist. I don't know why, but I know for a fact that it happened. In that world of possibility. Oh, that's interesting. So what, you have like, not necessarily full memories, but like these strange feelings that are essentially like recollections of what have happened in previous stories?
すまん。俺も自分で何を言ってるのか意味がわからなくなった。
For some weird reason, I couldn't prevent myself from smiling in embarrassment even in a situation like this.
でもレナは分かった。だから自らの手を汚すほかなかった運命を助けて欲しかった俺たちを嘆いてるんじゃ。レナは殺人者になんかこれが最善の選択だったなんて。だからさっきからずっと。
嘘だ嘘だ嘘だ嘘だ、そんなのは嘘だ。
嘘かどうかはお前が一番最初から後悔してるんだろ。たとえ誰にも知られることなく死体を隠せたとしたって、そんな十字架を背負って生きていく苦痛をどうやってごまかす。一つしかない。これしか方法がなかったと思う。それはつまり仲間に相談する価値がないって思うこと。レナにとって違うだろ。本当に助け合える関係。確かに去年の仲間たちはだからサトシを不幸な運命から救う。でも人は成長するんだ。ミスは二度と犯さないし後悔は二度と繰り返さない。だから俺たちは仲間だ。お前の一番の味方なんだ。
つまりそれは私も未熟。
そうだ。仲間たちが日々成長していることを信じられなかったレナも未熟だ。だがそれを責める気はないぜ。俺たちだってレナが一人悩むのを人は語り合うことでしか胸の内を明かせない。だから今日のこの場までは仕方がなかったことかもしれない。そういう意味では言いたくはないが、今日という日がレナにとって最善の選択の向こうにあったことをでもレナが去年からずっと持っていた不信感も俺たちが持っていた後悔も全部吐き出しあった。だから俺たち
本当にいつも罪は。
そうでもねえさ。例えば俺は仲間である
理解できるって。
人の命を奪うのは許されることじゃないっていう。でもそれを理解した上で、だから俺はレナを汚らわしい。次に同じようなことがあったらだけどすでに起こってしまったこの理解ってのは、つまり俺はレナのこの行為を否定したりしない。
I said that to everybody this time. I said it to all my
俺は
friends.
これしかどうしようもなくて悩み抜いた上で至った最後の最後の手段だったってことだから、俺はレナに協力しようと思う。
もちろん殺した理由が金目当てだとかだけどな、どうしても逃げられなくて、レナの罪はそこに至るまでに。だけどそれを俺は許す。だから今日に至ったその行為も俺は許す。
圭一、
だからみんなもレナも今日に至るまでそれに気づけず、それが今日を招いた俺の罪だ。
圭一さん、
このヤバい袋の山を俺たち全員が秘密にすれば、レナは何も気にすること、最初の予定通りに、そして全員で塩で、そしたら俺たちは全ての罪を許し合おう。そして取り戻そうぜ。これだろ、レナが本当こっちなんだろ、最善の選択肢は。
圭一くん。
I jumped on the hood of the abandoned car Reina was standing on. I reached for her hands.
認めろ、こっちがレナが本当に選びたかった。確かにこの選択肢はレナと俺たちが互いに、つまり俺だけが俺だけじゃない、みんなだから。レナ、お前も手を伸ばせ。それで互いに手をつかみ合って、初めてお前は本当に選びたかった選択肢の向こうの世界。
圭一くんの言葉は本当なら嬉しい。でもみんなもそうだとは限らないよ。
The little hand touched mine. It was Rika-chan.
リカちゃん、
レナは決して、あなたは決して、そしてこんなにも泥だらけになり、そんなあなたをどうして私は認めずにいられるのか。
Rika-chan's small hand was strong, and she spoke eloquently.
私は逃れられない不幸の迷宮に飲まれ、だからこそたった一人で屈することなく戦い続け、そんなあなたが身近にいる。私もあなたの罪を許す。だからあなたも。
リカちゃん、
私は無力な小娘だ。自分も運命にレナのように戦う。だから私をあなたの仲間として許してもらいたい。
Rika-chan usually acts childish, but now she was like a totally different person. She meant every word she was saying. And then another little hand reached out to ours. Oh, homie. Oh, homie.
サトコ、
Satoko put her hand over mine and Rika-chan's. She didn't say anything, looking down for a while. Rika-chan urged her to speak.
私もリカも両親を失い、今日までそれを嘆いたこと、皆さんという仲間という家族がいたから。私はこれからも皆さんと家族同士だからこそ、時には全てを打ち明け合うのは当然だから、今日はいい機会、互いの罪を許し合う機会。
仲間という名の家族か。
レナさんの罪をどうか私の罪も許してくださいませ。
A big hand reached out for ours. It was Mion's.
仲間の大切さを語るのは部長である私の役目だと思ってただけに、いやはや私も部長失格かなーなんて。
ミオ、
ごめん、ふざけたね。
Mion still smiled and scratched her head.
レナの境遇を察しなかったことを仲間として部長として恥じるよ。許してほしい。もちろんレナがそれは私が打ち明けるに足る存在じゃなかったってことだ。私はリーダーであらねばと日々努力しているはずなのに、その未熟さだからレナの罪を許す。
レナ、俺たちはこっちは全部あとはお前、手を伸ばせ。こっちへ来い。お前が本当に来たかった世界、もう手は全員が差し伸べ、だからためらうな。
レナはきっとみんなに
レナ、
リカちゃん、もう俺たちはこの事実にこれ以上だから、レナにだってただ黙ってこっちへって来い。レナ、夢とかましてやレナにはまだ選べる選択肢が残って、だから選べ。間に合う。来るんだ。俺たちはやり直せるんだ。
Reina slowly reached out, and her hand touched ours. She didn't hold our hands. All she needed to do was to touch our hands to show us her will. Reina chose to live, to share her life with her friends, rather than to refuse them for the rest of her life. I took a step closer and firmly grabbed her wrist. It was getting dark, and some stars had appeared in the sky. We all forgave each other for our sins for the first time. It was a little embarrassing, but Reina's tears made us all cry, and we just kept crying together. We stood in a circle, holding each other by the shoulder, putting our heads together in the middle. We are a family made of friends. We forgave each other, and we are happy together. There's a memory in the back of my mind, but it's not supposed to exist. I tried to save one of my friends in that world. In order to do that, I rejected all of my other friends. I acted recklessly, alone. I brought about the end of the world. The situation we had here is the same as the incident in that faraway world, in the sense that people have been deprived of their lives in order to save one friend of mine. But other than that, it was different. We have Reina, Mion, Satoko, Rika-chan, and myself. Nobody was missing. We were going to regain them. We were going to regain those happy and peaceful days. The road going there might be a little rough. But we'll walk it together. We all will. We went to the place in the mountains of Yagochi that Reina had picked for burying the bags. Carrying corpses is a scary thing to do. It made us united more strongly because of that. Since each part of the corpse is in a separate plastic trash bag, we can tell what's inside each bag by touching it. First, we forced ourselves to laugh whenever we had to touch the bodies because we were scared. After a while, we got used to it, to the point where we could make jokes about it. Of course, all of that was probably a bluff. We all tried our best. Mion somehow had detailed knowledge of how to hide corpses, and she told me to dig the hole deeper. Mion somehow had that knowledge. I do love that. She's like, oh, no, that's not the proper way to do it. It's like, what the fuck? Rika-chan helped to carry the bags. Satoko used her talent of setting traps to perfectly camouflage the place where we buried the bags. Me? I was in charge of digging the hole. Reina dug it earlier, but I made it a little deeper. After we finished all of that, we walked back to the place where we parked our bicycles. We looked back at the place where we buried the bags. It was completely unnoticeable. We'd never be able to find the place again once we left for home. That's how perfect it looked.
よっしゃみんなお疲れさんこれでおしまいだね帰ろ帰ろ
Mion said it cheerfully, as if we had just finished club activities or something. We had no more bags to carry, and we no longer had any burden to carry either. We got on our bicycles. Reina was still standing there, looking into the distance.
おいレナ。
ちょっと熱が出ちゃったみたいで。
Reina's face looked slightly red. Mion touched Reina's forehead. It actually was a little warm. She had a tough day today. She had to go through so many things. She had to find a place to hide the corpses. She had to dig a hole. We caught her with the bags. We talked about our feelings. And we forgave each other. She must be exhausted after a day like that.
レナ、今日は帰ったらゆっくりや。
そうするね。
レナだから自分を責めちゃダメだからね。
やっぱり
何がだ？
やっぱり私どう自分の行為を美化したってみんなに助けてもらってもしみんなと会わずに私は耐えきれず潰されてしまったかもしれない。
She said all this with a bitter smile. It might take her a long time to heal from the pain. That must be 100 times shorter than the time it would have taken if she did this all alone. Reina's home was the closest from here. Reina went her way and the four of us were left behind. Mion made a suggestion.
明日からなんだけどさみんな揃ってどう思う？
そうですわ。それが一番レナさんにとって優しいことになると思います。レナは強い人。僕たちがそう振る舞えば。
振る舞いもずっと続けてれば本当になる。
語らないことでそのうち私たちは忘れてそして完全に忘れきった時が私たち
おそらくその日はそうかもしれませんわ。簡単に忘れられることでは。
仮に生涯忘れられなくてもいい。大切なのは最後まで全員の胸にしまって秘めておくこと。
思い出させない方が大事だからね。
We nodded in agreement, just as my house came into view.
じゃあなみんな明日また学校でいつもの通りに。
いつもの通りにトラップに。
じゃあねケイちゃん。
After I parted with them, I still felt hot and dizzy. It felt really weird. I was even staggering to the front door. Felt as if I was floating in the air, like I just took some very strong cold medicine. Today, something very shocking, something that made me super happy, and something very embarrassing happened to me. I felt as if my heart and mind were about to explode because they were filled to the brim with both happiness and sadness. I don't know whether I made a crucial mistake today, or if I had the happiest day of my life. I don't know which it is. All I could do was to stare blankly into space. I felt frustrated, too. Even though they were my friends, I was caught in the act of abandoning the corpses. At the same time, I felt relieved that my reliable friends accepted what I did. Those emotions were all mixed up in my heart. They were equally strong, making it difficult for me to decide what I was feeling. I was losing my sense of balance. Like the world was warping around me. I heard sounds as if I was in a shower. Everything left me with a feeling of unreality. When those emotions were about to make me lose control, I felt heat on my wrist. The part where Keiichi-kun grabbed me earlier started throbbing. My feelings weren't cooperating with me, but the heat on my wrist calmed them down for me. I don't know how to express what I felt when my friends and I held shoulders together in a circle earlier. But the feeling was the only thing I knew to be real.
ただいま。あれ？
As soon as I opened the front door, I smelled it. It smelled really good. Father isn't good at cooking, but he likes trying to cook creative dishes. I remember he used to cook something very challenging whenever he was in a good mood. So, this smell was a sign that he felt that way. That's why I always liked the smell. The reason he's in a good mood is because he found a job. Not just any job. He found a job with a company created by friends from his old workplace. They remembered my father and promised to hire him. He told me that some of his other colleagues from the old company are also working there. Must be very encouraging for him to work with people he knows, because he hasn't worked for a long time. The dinner looked great, in contrast to how it tasted. It was a dinner to celebrate his new life, to show his determination, to regain his bond with his daughter, to make a clean start. I talked about a lot of things with my father that night. It had been a long time since the last time I talked with him like this. I don't remember when it was. It reminded me of the days I was still happy, which meant that I'd finally returned to that time. My father still believes that Teppei is coming back one day, so he's still very cautious about locking the doors and windows. He gets scared every time someone rings the doorbell. I told him so many times that they'd never come back, but I couldn't convince him because I couldn't tell him the reason why they won't. He'll eventually realize that he's free. I'm sure it won't take too long. My heart was full of many, many emotions that day. If emotion could actually burst a heart open, it might happen to me. My brain must have been overworked because so many things happened at once. My head was still fuzzy, but I managed to crawl into bed. I felt like this ground was moving. I totally lost my sense of reality. I remember that I once felt like this when I got the flu. I might get a high fever tomorrow. But I don't care. I don't care if I get sick tomorrow. I just wanted to enjoy the fact that I took a step towards the future of my decision. Keiichi-kun told me something like that today. The high fever and the dizziness made me feel frustrated for some reason. Whenever I felt frustrated, I felt the heat on my wrist too. I grabbed my wrist with my left hand tightly. It made the frustration go away, and it brought me relief. Even the dizziness I didn't like just before made me feel like I was in a full, down-filled futon. I was falling asleep in that down-filled futon on my first night in a new world. This dizziness didn't go away for a few days, but I gradually got used to it. This new world looked like the world I used to live in before, but the sunshine was a little bit brighter, and Keiichi-kun's smile looked a little bit more gentle than before. We made more noise than we used to. We spent every day slowly, but in high spirits. Oh, what an idiot I am. I underestimated that dizziness, and I caught a summer cold in June. I wanted to get better as soon as possible. I should have taken a day off from club activities, but I forced myself to play with them every day, and that made it hard for me to get better. I finally learned my lesson recently. I don't need to feel frustrated. There's no limit to happiness in this world. As long as we keep wishing for it, it'll continue forever. I don't need to feel frustrated anymore, because tomorrow I'll have the happiness I have today. We'll have the Watanagashi Festival next Sunday. Michan tells us that we'll have a lot of fun, that we'll go extra crazy. I really can't wait. Interesting. I mean, that's nice. I like their little, we're all homies type moment. The nice little friendship circle, it's nice. But it definitely makes me interested for what the rest of the story is gonna have in store then. Because as far as I can tell, this is about the same length that I think the only like short chapter in the series is chapter 4, because that was meant to be like a little bonus story, but the rest of them are all around the same length. So that makes me think we're only like in like the halfway point, which makes sense because we still haven't hit the Watanagashi, right? It's usually the festival that like is like the big turning point in the story where shit starts getting crazy, and like we've already got 2 dead bodies. So like the fact that we haven't even hit the crazy portion of the story and we already got 2 corpses, that's wild. It's still June, yet the air is filled with the cries of cicadas. How's everyone in Hinamizawa doing? The Watanagashi Festival is coming just around the corner. We staff members from the Forestry Service are going to perform a wood sculpting demonstration at the festival. We'll be happy to lend out our tools and teach your kids how to sculpt wood themselves. It'll be an excellent memorial gift. Also, we'd like to inform everyone that we're going to cut down trees in the local hills this summer as part of the 4th Forest Landscape Management Project. Are you going to cut down trees in the fucking... where we buried the goddamn body? This project involves preserving the beauty of the forest by cutting down old trees and planting new ones. Fuck. That's exactly what's going to fucking happen. Oh my god. Because obviously they're going to have to dig up holes to plant new trees. Let me guess, the Forest Service needs volunteers who are interested in helping us cut down the old trees. You can enjoy the beauty of nature under the blue sky while helping out with this preservation activity. The project will begin during summer break, so you can bring your kids too. This will be a good opportunity for your kids to learn about nature and have a valuable experience. The locations of the project are the forest in the Takatsuta and Yagachi areas. Yep. Go fucking figure. Oh my god. I'm sitting here like, huh, when are things gonna take a turn? And fuck, that tells you right there, like, you know what? We buried the body. We're all just gonna forget this day, but we're all gonna be closer as friends because of it. And now the forester's just like, yeah, we're gonna go digging in those mountains. You know, we're gonna chop trees and we're also gonna dig holes. Best believe we're gonna dig some holes. Oh, go fucking figure. Oh, that's... There's always gotta be something, right? It's always gotta be like, and there it is. Things are going too good. What's the catch? And there it is.
笑い続けていれば、いつか幸せになれると信じてきた。誰かのことを思えば、相手も自分を思ってくれると信じてきた。悲しかった思い出を置き去りにして、少女は明日を見つめようと前を向く。甘えず、頼らず、たった一人で未来を切り開くために。その先にあるものは幸せか、それとも不幸せか。罪滅ぼし。誰かを愛したかった。でも本当は誰かに愛されたかった。
Okay. Interesting.
はい、いらっしゃいませ。
Alright, unfortunately, I am going to have to stop this one here for today. But damn, I feel like that's an excellent stopping point. Because now we're like essentially in the back half. It's the night of the festival, which means something's going to happen to Takano and Tomitake, even though we haven't seen them at all in the story yet. Though, to be fair, I don't think we were introduced... No, we did see in the first chapter, we did see Tomitake before the actual night of the festival. But still, like... Okay. Things have definitely gotten to a point. So we know over summer break, the Forestry Service is going to be digging in the mountains where we buried the bodies. Huh. What to do with that information? Obviously, I kind of expect, like, all the homies are going to stand 10 toes down for it, but it's like... Clearly, the police are going to get involved. And eventually, they're going to find out that, like, oh yeah, Rina was connected to some mark in fucking Hinamizawa, and they start digging into that. And who this Hinamizawa character is? Oh, Mr. Rurugu, huh? And they start thinking, like, oh, who would have motives? It must be this guy. And honestly, I can see that being the turn. Like, all the police suspect it's Reina's father. So Reina's kind of forced with a choice. Like, does she allow her father to take the fall for it? Or does she sacrifice her own future to save her father's future? Once the cops have kind of closed in on a fucking suggestion. But even then, there's still what's going to happen with Takano and Tomitake. Well, that's the thing, we do know, like, that is something, is like Takano does get found like burnt in a barrel, right? Kind of in that same area, right? Up in the mountains. I don't know if it's in the exact same area, but like that could be used almost as like a way of like deterring people from going into the mountains. I would hate to assume that the gang is now going to go commit murders, even though they said like, yo, we know you did what you did, but we forgive you for it, but we're going to move on from it. We don't want you to cross that line ever again. And then to think that the gang is the one carrying him out would be fucking crazy. Because we do know, like we said, the death of Tomitake is like, what ultimately does him in is the clawing at his own throat. But we do know he gets injected by a poison that clearly Rika has access to. And then we do know that he had been beaten on by a group of people, right? I still remember that distinctly from the very first time it was ever described to us. It was like a group of people had beaten on him. I mean, if nothing else, we do know that Rika has like a predetermined death, right? She knows when she's going to die. She knows how it's going to happen. But she said that like Reina's courage gave her the courage to fight back as well, so maybe that plays a part in it. Maybe Takano and Tomitake play a bigger role as far as that's concerned. And maybe that's why they end up dying, is to prevent Rika's death. Someone goes out of their way to prevent that happening. I could see that. I could see that actually. Interesting. Very interesting. There's a lot to think about what might come next. I'm very excited for it. Very, very excited for it. But like I said, I will have to wrap this one up here for today. So thank you to everyone watching. It's all much appreciated. And hopefully I'll see y'all in the next one. Till then, peace.